Good, good.
Not so bad, thanks. I'm doing that. How are you guys?
We're good.
I'm doing not too bad.
Okay, this Hangout's live, and this week the issue of racism come up, and we got accused of racism. With that issue of racism, daily I get accused of being a rape monger. I am privileged. I'm a misogynist. I'm cis-privileged. I'm not black enough. I hate everybody. I hate betas. I'm a gay basher. There's about 100 things that come up every single day that I have to field. These are separate groups, separate from Mgtow. Let me... Yeah, I did that same mistake again. I didn't turn off the podcast on the thing. So this comes up every single day. I'm getting to the point where I'm fatigued. I'm fatigued with all the garbage. It's not my responsibility. I carry all this on my back. I'm not going to do it no more. I'm simply not going to do it no more. Racism, rape, misogyny, cis, anything I do, I get these things leveled at me. What do you think, Shiny?
I think you're getting that channel fatigue. You know, you've got a very goal-orientated, very ideological channel, and you're gonna get challenged. And I think I've said this before. Every channel above like 1K, they normally get their critics, especially if you're not censoring. I mean, I think if you're the type of channel that just lets everyone have their little say, you're gonna have to start dealing with these things. And I'm sure all the Mgtow channels, all the controversial channels that talk about very topical things, they're going to get these things laid at them. And I think you have to sort of take it all with a pinch of salt, take it on the chin, and sometimes you just can't let it distract you from what you want to do, really. I mean, we all know you're not racist.
Yeah.
I think we're the least racist
Mgtow
in the entire manosphere. Right here, guys.
I couldn't agree more.
Really well-rounded group where we it's multicultural. We talk about a variety of subjects. We invite anybody that wants to come in. We never think about, all we're looking at is an avatar and a voice. That's it. It's not about skin color. It's not about your sexual preference. It's not about who you like or dislike. It's usually about what you got to say, and that's usually 100% Mgtow. But man, it gets old around here, and I'm just feeling it lately. It's like every other comment is some social justice thing that I did wrong, or by default I just am. And that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit. Every time these people come around, it's just by default I am that. It's like they're thinking in a vacuum, and somehow I'm the newest victim of their complaint.
I think you're. I think in any public forum, any person that's going to put their voice out there is going to be a target to what's going around in society in general. I think there's two issues here. Number one, the people that lay these issues on you, they should be here talking about it. They should be on here. They should be saying, well, this is what I took exception to. This is why I took that opinion. But they refuse to come on here, just like I think. And then the second issue, obviously, the second issue is that you have to learn how to cope with these type of these type of accusations, these type of slanders, and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like guys, or they might be girls, I don't know, that put these things out there. I just want to see your reaction. They're not necessarily true, but
I usually give the patented answer to all the, it's the best answer that I can possibly come up with, to be indifferent. But man, after you get old, we all getting old, and I'm grumpy this week, and I'm super grumpy. It's just I got the business here. I'm trying to do this. I got my son there. I got the house bills. I'm taking care of everything. There's things to be fixed around the house. Zeta was, we and Zeta were just talking. We have whole lives outside of this.
Yeah, exactly.
This was supposed to be a release point for men, a sort of a venting area where men can vent about all the stupid gynocentric stuff that we deal with every day in our lives. And then the social justice warriors are just freaking relentless in just wanting to slither into our, and I hate to say it, our little safe space. And this is the only space in the world that we have just to be men. And the pressures on us are enormous outside of in the real world. Most of us have enormous pressures.
That's right. Well, I was just discussing that with you, Joe. Remember, it's got to come to a point where, we look at the cycles of the way these things have been instigated on many levels, right? And of course the racist card being one of them right now we're discussing. It has its cycle, and we can sit back, observe what's going on in the manosphere, and it has its own cycle. It dies for a while, and then it comes back. And personally, Joe, I share that same fatigue. Maybe you're self-shining, but I'm tired of it. And and I think right now what's happening in the Mgtow sphere is guys are starting to look forward to the next level, to the what's next. Everything's come around, everything's gone around, and it's come around. And enough is gelling in. But what's next? Okay. And the thing is, like myself right now, I was sharing with you, Joe, about I've got an important business decision to make into the new year. That's going to require my attention. This is real life, a real scenario going on, right? And, this is a no-brainer. Are you going to, put energy, allow your energy to allow space to be rented in your head? Who's the frickin' landlord here? Right?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, Joe, from my end.
When I say, and I don't want to ban nobody, and I don't want to start that ban list up and get it any heavier than maybe the 5 guys I've got on there over, so many years period. But I have to start, if they're going to come with these silly social justice warrior garbage that really has nothing to do with real life and really doesn't help me or help these guys around here move, through some difficulties in their lives, then I'm just going to ban them, because it becomes a detraction, a sideshow of what we're doing around here. Hell, I wanted to do the Thursday night, and I wanted to talk about going Galt, about the importance and how we do that in our lives and how we do that within society, because we can't escape society. Society's all around. There's nowhere you can go to run to anymore.
If I can suggest, I think seeing as the perpetrators, the accusers are not here, I think the issue right now, is about channel fatigue. I think a lot of channels we've seen come and go is exactly that. I think they did leave, and they did wane, and they did sort of lose heart in the goal of Mgtow, because they had exactly this. They got tired of the the so-called infighting, the comments, the private comments, the channel attacks, the flagging, the accusations, and it's something that if you observe my channel, my past, I'd say 10 videos has been about on Mgtow. It's been about channel fatigue. If you listen to what I say, I'm addressing the Mgtow channels. I'm addressing the guys that are in here, and I'm trying to say, it's just a factor of having a channel. If you have a channel and you're putting your voice out there, you're gonna get attacked. You're gonna get accused. After you've been through family court, I think everything else is pretty easy. All those accusations, that's nothing compared to what you go through in family court. But no, you're going up to 1.5K now, Joe. So, I'm surprised you didn't get this level of attention before. I know Messenger is 3.8. He's a big target now. People are wanting to take him down. I mean, they threatened him. They threatened to do something to him unless he took his channel down. And I know he gets that quite a bit. But you have to take it on the chin. You know, you have to keep your eye on the goal. You know, remember why you came here. Remember why you set up your channel. Remember what happened. You know, that you've got a much bigger agenda than just trying to defend yourself from people that are, you know, just putting things out there because they experience it. I mean, I know racism is a big problem, and racism is out there, and they probably experience it, and they see you probably as some white guy. They don't know who you are, and they presume that you're one of these middle-class white guys that, you know, want to support the new white uprising or something like that, and they just you know, lay it on you.
Yeah,
I get that. You know, I get it. You know, people think I'm the Arab. You know, people think I'm some type of a ISIS supremacist. People think and then if I'm not an Arab, I must be a Pakistani. You know, I get it. And then I get called a virgin. It says, oh, you must hate women because you have a virgin. You can't get women. And you know, I've got 3 kids. How can I be a virgin and then I get called gay?
Yeah, that's it. They level these things. It's constant. It's just a whole variety of things, and it's when you tackle one, another one comes up. You tackle racism, then it's rape and privilege.
It's an unwinnable war, and it just keeps, and it's self-perpetuating, and that's part of the media game. Okay, it's like an ongoing Jerry Springer show in its own right, you know. Yeah. And you know what? It only makes sense. You're gonna get frickin' tired, man. Okay, you know, we're fatigued, and I think this is what we're talking underneath it all. I mean, if it's not going to be racism today, Joe, what's the next topic going to be tomorrow? The sexual deviance? You know, are we going to go? You know, the hangout gate again? I mean, hello.
Oh yeah.
You know,
it's the.
Let's move forward here, guys. Really.
The gay agenda, and you know, it's how I must hate gays because I'm a cis male, and you know, it's just one thing after another. Boy, and then we don't talk about what we're supposed to talk about. What guys really come here to hear from us, so they can vent their problems. You know, why Kyle comes to my, you know, Debo and HD and James and Mgtow and all you guys are great. You guys are the guys I worry about. You guys are the guys I love you guys, and I want you guys to do well in life and have a safe space to come to, where we could just be men and talk about, you know.
I think that's a good point, and that's a point that we should always remember. You know, we're going to get our opposition, we're going to get our enemies, but we can't forget our allies. We can't forget our friends. I mean, if you focus too much on the negative, then it just seems that YouTube is just full of haters and detractors.
Exactly, and we want to get away from that image too. I mean, if you look at our throwdown session since March, right, every Sunday, I mean, we've created an element, not always 100%, but the underlying thing. I mean, we've had an ongoing, you know, small group coming back every Sunday, right? So obviously, there's something done that's good. Right, you know, we talk about etiquette, we talk about all those, you know, all those values, and you know, explore the morals and ethics to whatever extent we can, you know, and realizing again that we are multinational, multicultural, and multiracial, man. You know, this is it. This is what it's all about.
Well, when I first came into the scene, when I first saw Mgtow, I saw it as the most male-friendly, the most multicultural, the most or the least argumentative space for men anywhere. And I've been around the internet for decades. You know, I was there when MSN first started up, and people were using MSN Messenger. I was all the way back then in those forums, and we don't want to see Mgtow descend into that. You know, we don't want to see Mgtow going into the atheist wars, the race wars, the nationalistic wars. You know, we were supposed to be beyond that. So I don't know. I mean, how do you address it? I mean, something I've said to all Mgtow channels is, you know, remember why you came here in the first place. You know, remember your original target. You know, why did you set up your channel in the first place? Why did you start making videos? You know, that's not changing. In fact, that's still getting worse. And I think we should be encouraged the fact that more and more men jumping on board the messaging, and, you know, seeing that we're at least a type of remedy for the sickness that is rampant in society.
Well, what's interesting about what you're saying, Shining, is I bet there's a lot of men out there right now who are just listening in. They dare not put anything in chat, and they're just waiting for that moment, to jump into the conversation. Okay, so this is why, again, it comes back to what I've said before. Watch what you say, because that one word can change a man's life, right? Mm-hmm. And again, this is what we've had in the throwdown. Prove me wrong, aside from the bullshit that we encounter every now and again. But this is, this is what I'm seeing here. Is the message is getting out, and guys, there are guys that really want to join in, but they're holding off. So keeping them in mind is what I'm saying.
It's such a widespread problem. I mean, we're trying to tackle such a deep-rooted, widespread problem that I think our intention, our purpose, is such an important one, and is so. I think inevitably more and more men are going to come on board, because they're trying to articulate, they're trying to hold on to something.
They're trying to find their voice. They're really trying to find their voice, and I think that's what we're doing is we're being their voice, okay? Yeah. And whoever content producer that they're surfing on, right? That's what's going on, man. Is these guys, and we're being their voices. A lot of men out there have lost their voice, and they're finding it through us.
Yeah, Seriously. I'd like to see more and more new Mgtow channels. I'd like to see more and more guys open up. Do your little take on. I mean, the amount of talent that is untapped amongst the Western men, I think, is huge. I think there's a lot of wasted talent, like in the famous words of Tyler Durden. There's a lot of men and a lot of wasted men. A lot of wasted resources.
Hey, there's also guys now. A guy Mgtow Indian who's been pumping out quite a bit of content about what's going on in India and their perspective. So it's definitely growing. Okay, and I think he's becoming more prolific. You were saying, Joe?
I wanted to say to Anime Indian, I was trying to get your an invite sent out to you on this, but it's not working. So I'm going to send it to your private message area.
Another thing as well, anybody that deals with the public generally are going to know that there's so many different types of people. I mean, we're on the internet. It's virtually worldwide. You're going to meet people from all different types of understanding, different types of background, education, and beliefs. And when we all get together, it's going to be very difficult to all come on the same common ground. And so far, I think we've done really well. It's now and again, sometimes an odd issue turns up, and it just tips certain aspects of the manosphere over. We use the word triggered. A lot of guys that get triggered by certain subjects, and that's exactly what happens. And I think so long as we've got the altruistic type of channels, the guys that really have the good intention of men in general, I think so long as we've got those channels around, I think YouTube Mgtow is always going to go from strength to strength, I reckon.
Yeah.
Unless we get hijacked by PUA.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a hijacking of our. We often get hijacked, and
it's quite easy. I mean, what I'm seeing now is people, they're really attracted by the big channels. It's like they see it's going, oh, look how well that guy's done. I mean, I remember when he had less subscribers than me, when he first started, and now he's on over 200,000, and other channels, other Mgtow channels are seeing how this guy's made, basically making a name for himself, making a bit of a living as well off his YouTube channel, and they get awed by it, and they get easily sidetracked, and then all of a sudden they're talking about the same stuff he's talking about, and they see him as a, we talk about this, but this YouTube idolization. You've turned this YouTube channel into a hero worship, and now whatever he says is like. It is like some prophecy, and you imitate him like a prophet. And sadly, we need to get away from this. Guys, a man is just a man. No man is perfect. No man alive there's no man alive except he's going to say something really stupid at some point, especially the more he talks. He's going to say something stupid, he's going to say something wrong, and you're going to follow him. If you're going to follow a man, no matter what he does, then you're going to make a mistake at some point. And normally it's sooner rather than later. And that's what I don't like to see. Because we all talk about being individuals and being free thinkers, but there's so much hero worship going on. I mean,
yeah. Hey, Anime Indian, do you got your mic set up yet?
Yeah, I'm in the library right now, so I gotta move.
Oh, you're in the library, so you got to move to a quiet place?
Yep.
Okay, that's Anime Indian. He's I've always wanted to have Anime Indian, and it's great to have him show up today. As soon as he gets his mic set up, we'll give him some time to talk. And
is he an actual American Indian?
I think I've talked to him once before, and he is a Native American Indian, and he has got some great stuff. I just watched one of his videos yesterday, and he's a Mgtow, and
well, let's say from him. I know he's in touch with a lot of guys that we normally don't speak to.
Yeah, I think he's moving his mic right now. And who else we got in here today? I just want to say hello to James and Debo, and hi, Mgtow.
HD Failure is in as well.
HD Failure, and who should we get the
don't
hammer
worry,
to?
they're all watching. Paul Proteus, TFM, the Mayor of Mgtow. They got their eye on you, brother. Don't worry.
They're all, I got my eye on me. Yeah, a lot of people got their eye on me lately.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's your turn to get targeted.
Yeah, I got that big target on my back.
You got your target on your back now, brother.
When I was younger, I used to be able to handle that better. Now that I'm older, like I said, it's a little more fatigue, it's a little more irritating, and I'm grouchy. I'm really grouchy a lot of the days. You can ask my son. Sometimes I come out of, it's 6. I usually start at 6 in the morning, and then when I get out, he'll wake up about 10, and my day's pretty much over by then. And I get out there, and I got this look on my face like don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Is the coffee done?
I do that to my dad sometimes too in the morning. Oh man, and then guilt ensues. It's like, oh jeez, and then I make him coffee. And
I hate that. I hate to be that. But then it's the way we look too. When you get older, you get that disposition that your hair. You don't care. You haven't brushed your hair in 2 weeks, and you got that 120-day stubble. And it's like you can just hear us growling, and we got certain pains and aches, and life hasn't gone the way we wanted it to, and we carry that shit, and it gets old, and it gets frustrating, and rarely do we have a good day between a lot of bad days, and like I said, back to you've got responsibilities, you got duties, when you become a Mgtow, the first thing in life is you're doing this on your own. There's nobody around. There's no help. There's no backdrop for a Mgtow.
Well, we're trying to change that. I like the idea of a Mgtow brotherhood. I think originally, especially when the guys first come on the scene, there is this sense of camaraderie. There is this sense of brotherhood, because we are coming from a very I'm going to put it out there. I think the general feeling amongst men is great depression. I'm still yet to find a Mgtow channel that hasn't been in a very, very dark place. And they come on here, and there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And you're only human, Joe. I think it's safe to say that every man at a certain age is going to come into patches or periods of their life where they're just going to be on a big downer. And I like to think that Mgtow is a place we can come here, we can share our ideas, we can discuss anything you want to talk about. Let's lay it out on the table. And I think it's an excellent project. What's going on?
Yeah. You know, we've got a lot to offer. You know, Warhorse and I and you, Shining and Zeta about how we've dealt with in life, how we've dealt with things, and how we've gotten past a lot of really harmful things in our lives. But you know, it's just a sidetracking and stuff, and that helps me and it helps you. Whatever they take from it, that's great. You know, and but you know, like we do get tired, and you all remember your fathers, you know, sitting in a chair not wanting to get up some days, and just, you know, the creaks and the aches and the pains. And I remember my father, he had that special moan when he got up out of the chair. You know, it's a and
Yeah,
you're
we're
gonna
all
get there.
getting there. We're all getting there. Time, you know what they say, cliche, time waits for no man, and with each day that passes, is each day that's gone. But I like to look at it with each day that comes is another chance for you to do what you couldn't achieve yesterday. So
Yeah, we keep, you know, we're men, we keep trudging forward, and
yeah, let's do
we
it.
yeah, we do that, and that's what we do very well in our life. It's one thing that's given, that a man is going to be super tenacious about anything he just kind of drives into, and we do that. But you know, it just gets old sometimes. Hey, Anime Indian, do you have your mic
Yeah,
set up?
everything's set up. Yeah.
Okay, can you give me a sound test right here, real quick?
Test, test.
Okay, you got a slight echo, but it's not that irritating. And would you like to chime? You had something to say? Did you want to, you know,
What's
tell a
your
little?
opinion? What's your opinion on the Mgtow scene anime?
I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, because the thing is, like, there's just no place like Mgtow to talk. Because the thing is, like, it's kind of like Nico said. I mean, there's no other place on the internet for, like, just men just to speak their minds without being censored, without being, like, insensitive. We could just speak our minds and not be shamed. For the most part.
So what kind of things are you finding? You know, what kind of problems are you finding, or what kind of things do you think could move Mgtow forward or the scene forward?
To me, I just think we have to. I don't know. I think the thing is, like, I think we have better communication, because the thing is, like because sometimes, like Vault and Mgtow, sometimes, like, I put up like an event, 3 days later, no one I know, for women and their, for basically the second video I did for Vault and Mgtow, which is the Doomsday Preppers, which I created for Mgtow.
Okay.
And, like, the thing is, no one showed up. And, like, it's just like, okay, I kind of wanted, like, to get a lot of content done. I kind of, like, wanted to get this. I mean, it's not that I don't want to do it myself. It's that, like, I like the Hangouts because we have deeper conversations. We get more in depth. And basically, you can tackle every nook and cranny of a subject. And that's usually something you can't really do.
Yeah, and it's I think TFM puts it, when you're talking to someone here, you're talking to like TFM's got the monkey, and when he gets insults or something, he says, "Hey, remember, you're talking to a monkey. You're talking to an avatar."
Yeah, he's got an excellent foil going on.
Yeah. When we get in here, we can be honest. We can be, you know, we can be honest with us. When you're talking to 4 separate people from 4 separate areas of the world. You know, I'm from the Northwest. Shining's obviously from England. Zeta's from Canada. Anime
I'm from
Indian,
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles area. Yeah, so the far west there, and Los Angeles is interesting.
Actually, there's a question from I to for Indian. Are you seeing it there, Indian?
Let me look at it.
Is he asking him why he's racist?
Yeah. No. Just wants to know if Indian lives on a res. If so, to go on. Do you see it there, Indian?
No, I don't live on the res.
Okay.
I mean, and there's a lot of reasons why it's a bad idea to live on the res. 1, there's no jobs on the res. 2, it's just like, 2, there's no housing on the res. There really isn't. I mean, that's kind of like, Actually, that's kind of like my family moved out here. I mean, we go back to the res every now and then for powwows and stuff like that to check who's still alive.
Right.
Because it's like there's a funeral every week. There's usually one or two funerals every weekend. And
Why is that?
A lot of different things.
Is there a particular problem on the reservations?
It's not a particular problem. I mean, sometimes there are addictions, sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's people being stupid. Gang warfare, I know that exists. It's kind of like a third world country on the reservation in America. It's a very weird place.
Yeah, those little microcosms and things we see every day in the cities are the same thing on the reservation. We talked at one point about the problems with the intertribal groups and and the perception of the outside and the banking systems and all that stuff doesn't come together very well. And but there is all those problems, and when you can move to Los Angeles or a city like that, or move out in the country, hey, we are free to move around in America. That's one of the great things about them.
I mean, we are free, but the thing is, like, we need money
to
get to where we're going, and that's a big problem on the res. It's just like, you need money, you need education, and the res doesn't provide education. I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm out here. I mean, look at me, like, I got into college. I got into the University of Arizona. I mean, I'm literally a 1%er. There's a lot of Indians. Half of them don't even pass middle school.
Hey, did Mgtow help with that? I know you've been around for a few years, and you were very young when you came around. I can't remember how old you said you were.
I was 19. I mean, it was only a couple months ago.
Okay.
I mean, it was beginning of the summer. That was actually, you know what? It was right before the BBC incident. That's when I came on.
Okay. Yeah. Did you find Mgtow made that transition a little easier to go to college and grab and think about it a little more seriously?
Well, here's the thing with me. It's like ever since basically I got my heart broken by the schoolyard crush. I always, for some reason in my mind, I was like, this world doesn't make any sense. Like, I kind of like vowed to myself that I would figure out how this world works, why it works, and it wasn't just like my little cart being broke, puppy love. It's like there's a lot of things, because the thing is like I was realizing Indians, how bad the conditions were at that time. I realized a lot. I saw racism for the first time. I realized it's like my mind was opening at that time, and there were just like so many inconsistencies. And I only became Mgtow after the first year of college, after my freshman year.
Okay, yeah, gynocentrism and the red pill kind of you start learning a little, and I can see how gynocentrism works into this problem. And,
yeah. I mean, and it kind of changed. It kind of helped. Mgtow kind of helped me, like, it kind of helped me balance myself out, because the thing is, like, I was kind of like an SJW, but for Indians coming into college. Like, I'm gonna prove to the world that I'm an Indian. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And the thing is, like, I didn't know who I was at the time. I didn't know what I wanted. I mean, I just was going through the motions, and like, I had to do things for myself. And like, it was just that college transition, because the thing is, I had to cook for myself. I had to do everything myself. I have to be totally independent, and that was kind of like it was that shock that really made me into a Mgtow. Was that initial transition?
Yeah, that's it's good that Mgtow was here. Can you imagine if Mgtow wasn't here to help you through that transition, to kind of come over and clarify things and talk to your friends and get through those rough spots? if we were back
it helped
in
me give me direction.
direction,
And that's what Mgtow did for me. I
yeah,
mean, I probably just would have gone to college, got a math. I mean, I probably would have got married at some point.
yeah. They would have been telling you, hey, go. It would have been that traditionalism,
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't. I
don't
came
get
from a
married,
divorce
and
house,
yeah,
so
do
to
that.
me, it's like, divorce is normal. Like, I can get married, have kids, do stuff like that. But the thing is, like, now that I'm Mgtow, it's like all these things just kind of like come together. They all make sense now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
I
what
mean,
Mgtow is that gateway that I've been
yeah.
referring to. It's that floodgate
Yeah.
and
I
where you start
mean,
connecting all the dots. Yeah.
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 It's
I
about
mean,
horizons now. You
yeah.
can
To
look.
me, like, my dad, he was full Indian, and he married my mother, who was Hispanic, who was a white Hispanic. And I was always like, and she looks very Caucasian. And I was like wondering, how did he get her? How is this possible? I mean, are they just like each other or what? And then I figured out it's because my dad had a house.
Yeah.
Nesting.
Nesting,
Hypergamy.
hypergamy and nesting. Yeah, you figure those things out, and no one else is going to tell you that in life. You can't get that in college. You ain't going to go into no class and they're going to tell, let's talk about hypergamy today. Not
They
going to happen.
should.
Yeah, they should. There should be a course for, especially for boys between the age of 17 and 18 when they say, hey, listen, guys, you're going to be going out in society, and let's start with the facts about the percentage of teen pregnancy.
Well,
Yeah, for
I
boys.
mean, you're supposed to like follow the trivium, and that's kind of like the basis of all elementary school, and that's the kind of the basis for all elementary school.
Yeah,
You're supposed to follow the trivium. You're supposed to learn grammar. You're supposed to learn logic, and you're supposed to learn all these, and you're supposed to learn rhetoric, and all these other things at this time. But the thing is, like, they don't give you they don't give you all logic. They don't give you all the rules. They just handicap you.
they handicap you. Yeah, they're not going to talk about how hypergamy and gynocentrism is, how it relates to Darwinism, and how the mating cycles is natural selection and all that stuff, and
Well, I
then
mean,
how
you
the
were taught.
there's
I
tribalism and
mean, I was taught natural selection. I was taught theory of evolution. But the thing is, like, I never ever was able to apply it to human nature.
right. You're never allowed to apply it to human
Well,
nature because that would say you would have to pick a target and say, well, we're
yeah.
talking
The thing
about
is,
women
because
here.
it's because there wasn't any like clues, hints.
Hints or
Because
clues.
the thing is, like Utark R versus K strategy, like with Monkey did a couple of months ago. And
Try it.
the thing is, like in Monkey, basically with Stefan Molyneux's work, he basically broke down R versus K in humans.
Yeah.
And now Mgtow knows.
Yeah, that's a really interesting R versus K, R and K cycles. We can
Yeah.
take R and K cycles back to amoebas, and we can look at that in every single species and how that works out to male and female and human species, and how that you can look at light cycles and
And that's just the
electricity.
thing. It's just those little clues and like learning alpha beta dynamics, learning R versus K. They don't teach you these things in school. They should.
No,
I mean, they
never.
always, yeah. I mean, they say like alpha and beta, but the thing is, like, you don't know like
What is an
what are the
alpha?
full. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
what
they
is
don't
an
tell you the
alpha?
full characteristics.
Yeah, they want you to be an alpha, and they're always saying like they're saying you can achieve anything in your life and just become the alpha, and they don't look at the realism of becoming an alpha.
Yeah, I know. Becoming an alpha is hard work, man. I mean, it's like you have to be like a freaking. I mean, the stakes are just so high just to become an alpha. And the thing is, just like the prestige it takes, the money it takes, just the education alone, just to become a real alpha, a true
Yeah,
alpha.
yeah. There's a whole cycle. I think anybody can become an alpha if they put their mind to it, work out, take
Well,
testosterone,
Yeah.
build the body, become, the male archetype intellectual. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's several
I mean,
ways
I
to do
think
it.
I do think there's a limit. I mean, I don't think all of us can become.
Oh, your personal limits, yeah.
Yeah.
If
I mean, because the thing is, like, some of us can become physically alphas. Not all of us can become mentally alpha, and
yeah,
that's the thing. It's just like, and some of us are just like, because the thing is, the way I look at alpha, beta, I look at it as the K and R. I compare the two of them. I'll make a little pyramid. I put true alpha, put alpha stigma, and alpha omega.
yeah,
And like then I just then I put gamma, and then like I do other things.
right,
And
yeah.
then to me it makes sense because alpha stigma, he's the politician, he's the psychopath. Alpha omega is kind of like the beta of the alphas. He's like
Yeah, we're the outcasts, not the outcasts. We're the people that choose the
yeah.
wolf that
And he's kind of
chooses to
like
live on the outside.
also he's kind of like the athlete too. And the true alpha
Yeah,
is basically the true alpha.
yeah.
And then the gamma, he's just
There's only going to be
basically
one percenter.
yeah, yeah, no, and then the gamma is pretty much he has the mental capacity to be an alpha.
Right, and
He has
yeah,
the individual. He's basically Mgtow.
he's the
Minimum.
make that we're striving for this mental excellence, aren't we?
Yeah.
In understanding logic,
Yeah, but that's
propositional
just
logic, and theology.
that's just the case. Because the thing is, how I think of the true alpha, he can delegate between, he can switch between R and K, and at like any time he wants.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. You can. We're not set into certain designations in life where we can't.
Yeah.
We can it's just a day in your life. Whatever you pick to be that day.
Okay.
You can put all that
Well,
other stuff away and
right.
just take a break. You're going on holiday. You go on a holiday and just do someone else. Do that other thing inside you that feels good. And we have that option as MGTOWs because there's no one tying us down. There's no one saying,
Right.
no, you can't do that.
Well, I think we're going a little off track. I mean, aren't we supposed to be talking about racism here?
My idea was today was to bring racism up and not talk about it. Because that's the only way I can do that.
Well, isn't that kind of
We can talk about racism, yeah. We have a wide right here with when Shiny was in and Zeta and you, and so I would represent the cis white male, and Zeta is representing his cultures. You're representing your cultures, and Shining was representing his cultures. And what happened is I try to bring a guy in every week, and it doesn't matter, to us, we just look at avatars. We don't know skin color. We don't know anything about people. And we got accused of racism for some because we brought up some trailer park thing.
yeah. I mean, to me, there's two kinds of racism. There's tolerable racism, and then there's intolerable racism. And to me, most of the intolerable racism are basically racism that's put into practice.
Yeah.
And then there's intentional racism. That is the intolerable one.
Yeah.
And the other one's that's tolerable is basically kind of like we make jokes, but that's kind of like tribalism. Like
Right.
we made fun of that other group,
the micro.
Yeah, let's make an example like the Angels and the Dodgers, or the 49ers and the Raiders.
Yeah.
You're gonna talk smack to that other group. I mean,
Right.
if they were racist, okay, we back off. But the thing is, that's just kind of like part of it too. It's not just racism. It's kind of group mentality.
Yeah.
It's tribalism.
Yeah. It's tribalism, and I'll never say there's if we put
Also,
these things away, and we just treat MGTOW like MGTOW, and like Shine was saying when he came in here, it was the only place I've ever seen in my life that we didn't, talk about racism. We didn't have to because underneath it all, we were all men.
yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
it's kind of funny because I think to this myself in private. I mean, when I think about Indians, like sometimes I can't even consider Indians because the thing is they're not thriving. They don't thrive. They don't survive. They're not utilizing all their resources at their disposal.
Yeah.
And that's a very Indian characteristic. But the thing is, and with Mgtow, however, it's not that I don't think they're Indians. It's that I don't think they're men in the tribe. I think just the masculinity is gone, and that masculinity was very crucial to make the tribe, and it's just gone.
It's just gone. Yeah. Gets beaten out of masculinity gets beaten out of us.
Yeah.
And any culture, I think, it takes its toll. The culture takes its toll on us.
Well, I know for American Indians, it's most of the dysfunctionality wasn't done by feminism. Most of it was done by the boarding schools,
Yeah.
and that's just a whole other topic. It's, and part of it is the feminization, part of it is, and also it's part of it is the economic handicaps are put on the
Economic
reservations.
handicaps. Yeah, that's where we were going when that topic came up. We were going about poverty, and as much as we don't like to talk about poverty, it's a big reason for perceived racism.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's the R versus K, where like a lot of people in poverty, they're not they're not Ks. A lot of them are Rs. I mean, it's usually the Ks who get out of poverty.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys. I mean, sometimes you'll find Ks in poor neighborhoods. I mean, usually these guys get out or they become gangsters.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing is, it's kind of funny because it's like, for basically to have this equality, basically, and you want to do this equality, you have to save the Ks. You can't save the Rs in that neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, and that goes back to the community and is segregation in the community or non-segregation in the community.
Well,
I can't say that in my life I didn't have opportunity in my community because the people in the community all looked like me, and they were like me, and we all banded together in the community. And when I needed a job, Don down the street had it, or Bill up the street said, "Hey, come over and work for me, or go over here," and but that's not my fault, and I don't perceive that as racism. I just believe that certain communities work together better because of
to me,
maybe
their
past, and they've learned how to work through some things.
I mean, to me, this kind of might sound a bit weird, but the thing is, the reason for white supremacy is not because whites are better, because they're all mostly Ks. It's because of Socrates. It's that Roman Greco education system.
Yeah.
And it was that environment. It was the irrigated rivers. It was all these little things. You guys, I mean, white people, they played a gamble, and they won. I mean, you guys got and the thing is, that's what all it is. To me, it's like you guys kind of won a lottery, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not because of racial superiority. It's because the environment, the circumstances were in your favor.
Right. Yeah. I'm Irish Catholic, so obviously I went to an Irish Catholic school, and them things were developed in Ireland, hundreds of years ago.
And the thing is, making social institutions is the key factor. Making good social institutions is always the thing that's going to basically be the difference in any community. Because the thing is, a lot of communities, they don't know how to teach the next generation. Oh, Showdown just left.
Yeah, I would say that he had to run out for he had a call coming in, and he said an hour and a half. Right. That was it. And I'm glad you showed up, and we can talk about these things here.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's social institutions. I mean, sometimes to me, it's kind of weird because the Ks, they will thrive. they will thrive if you give them the right conditions. But the thing is, like, but the R's, they're just going to complain. They're going to SJW.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they'll actually dumb down everything so they can get in. And the thing is, like,
Yeah. That's the
it's a very it's a very
egalitarianism.
it's a disturbing fact of life. But the thing is, it's life.
Right, yeah. The egalitarian is TFM goes a lot into the egalitarian and how you can look at it in feminism instead of reaching for that bar on the top of the math level. They just dumb down the math level and say, "Hey, look, more females are graduating," but that doesn't help them out at all.
No, it doesn't, and that's kind
That's
of
like a cheating on a test,
and that's what my dad fights against. I mean, he doesn't like that. I mean, he graduated when I was in middle school from University of from Cal State LA with an English degree, and like their English department's 10 in the nation.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, in him, I watched him get into college. I watched him. I mean, there were like years and months where I didn't see him on the weekends. And the thing is, like, and that's kind of like, and see, that's the difference between an R and a K. An R, he complained. With a K, he works his ass off.
He works his ass off to do it, and yeah,
and that's just, and that's the thing, and that's my dad. Yeah, he does that.
I see most Mgtows, and I seen my father work through that, and you know, we all see these things, and in our communities with our families, and we see these archetype males that we can use as role models to how to do things, how to work through things, the strength that it takes to work through things. But in fatherless families, sadly, there isn't that archetype male. So you might have a grandfather or an uncle that you respect and want to emulate his actions and stuff like that. And that could be, it's an alternate role model. Our society is so drifting towards replacement role models for men now. And it seems to be centered around that. And when we got the greatest role model right there, and if we just started supporting the best role model, which is the father.
I don't know. I mean, not all fathers are equal.
Oh,
I mean,
well, yeah, that's an all or nothing thing. You know, it's all, we're not talking about all fathers, you know.
Some fathers, and this kind of happens to all my friends. I mean, many of my friends in high school, they were first generation going to college. And the thing is, some of them, it's really risky because the thing is, they don't have family support. It's their first time leaving for home. They don't know how to talk to white people. And this is also a problem in the community, because people are just scared of each other. And that's the thing. And just you got to realize, look, you guys, they're going to be racist. Then they're just going to be regular guys, regular people. And the thing is, you have to deal with it. You have to be a K. You have to tolerate.
Right.
You can't be an R and complain and complain and complain because you're provoking people. And that's how fights are started. That's how women start fights.
Oh, yeah. We get it all around here. That I was talking that's what provoked this hangout is just me getting fatigued from doing those fights.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, I'm kind of on the other side of that whole hangout gate situation. But the thing is, I'm not going to bring it into this conversation.
Oh yeah. I'm done with that. I said everything I needed to say that, and then as soon as that ended, the racism came up, and then we always get rape, and we always get that I'm privileged, and we're misogynistic, and we're these cis males, and either I'm not black enough, and then on top of that I get thrown on that we hate women, and I have something against betas, and there's always the you cis males are gay bashers. So this is a lot of stuff to take in, isn't it?
Yeah, to me, a lot. If I really knew about Western history, how the West got started, you would see a big change, because the thing is, a lot of people don't even know European history. A lot of Americans that just learn American history. That's
Right.
it.
Yes.
And the
they
thing
do.
is, like, and they don't. And this is a big problem. And this is it's kind of like the handicap isolationism. Is that you don't understand why the way things came out, why the world is the way it is now, and that's kind of like why like European history and like Western history in general, because it explains everything. It
Right.
explains
Not all
why
people.
things are the way they are here. I
Yeah.
mean, the
Not
thing
all
is, a
people were
lot of,
privileged.
and the thing is,
like
like,
they
it's not about privilege.
Yeah.
It's about luck. It's about hard work, and sometimes, like, because the thing is, like, the Dark Ages. I mean, when Rome was sacked by the Goths, man, and like when the Alexandria Library was burnt, we
Mhm.
got lucky that we had that Greco-Roman knowledge, that it was revitalized. It was saved by the Hellenistics.
Yeah.
By
The Byzantine society.
I
We
mean,
saved.
if we didn't preserve knowledge, if we didn't preserve that history, I mean, our civilization would have been backwards for about another, I would say, another 100 years, maybe another centuries, maybe, because I mean, I mean, what was it? The Renaissance still would have happened
Yeah.
because of the Black Plague and stuff like that.
Yeah, the realms of the Victorian age that worked
Yeah.
into the age of
the
critical
Northern Renaissance.
age of romanticism, and that's where
Yeah.
we strayed. We went all wrong with gynocentrism because of the
Well,
romanticism.
to me, I mean, they did a lot of revival in the Renaissance of the Roman Greco values.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, they were lucky to find all those, because there were just there's Aristotle, there was Plato, there's
Mhm.
Socrates. I mean, we just got lucky as hell. And a lot of these guys, they're not white. I mean, a lot of these guys, they're Greek. And like, if
Yeah.
you look at what the Greeks were like, I mean, no, the Greeks were just, they weren't. You look at all ancient societies, they didn't give a shit about race. Nationalism only came about after the 100 Years' War.
Hmm.
I mean, tribalism still existed, but the thing is, like, this whole concept of racism was developed very later on.
Yeah, the 1800s brought it to the peak, and especially here in America, we fought a great war over that, the most bloody war the world's ever seen, and
I still think World War II is bloodier.
yeah,
I mean, there was more. There was, yeah, the size, the scope. I mean, the World Wars, both of them, the size and scope of both of them. I mean, I consider them this one war, because the thing is, they really are one war.
One war. When you think about it, how it progressed into the next war, yeah. What is Black
It's like
founded
World
in
War Part 2
Yeah.
with World War II, and
Yeah, Part 2. Yeah, it was 2.0 now.
yeah, no, and yeah, because the thing is, like, a lot of things were just at the end of the World War, there were just so many mistakes made. Then we ended up World War II, and then, well, America came on top, and Russia was a rising superpower.
Yeah, we got to think how lucky that the Japanese pushed us into that mode of industrialization in America.
I mean, you also kind of have to be lucky that Hitler was the leader of Nazi Party, because the thing is, like, he was a very ineffective military leader, and the thing is, like, he was interfering with his wonder weapons, his inventions. I mean, he delayed the jet by a couple of years. I mean, he could have won the war. I mean, it was literally, World War II was literally an underdog war for the Americans, for the Allies. It really was. If you look at it, if you look at the technology aspect of the war.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, a lot of things is just, it's luck, it's dedication, it's a lot of it is also the understanding of logic.
Yeah, the one guy with the reason. I look at Joseph Stalin a lot, and he gets the name of being this ruthless, bloody person. But if Joseph Stalin wouldn't have did what he did, then they would have been still sitting in a traditional economy.
No. I mean, I mean, it's always said. I mean, the reason kind of why World War One happened was the thing is the Tsar. If he didn't start this war, Russia would have been seen as weak.
Yeah, they weren't industrialized, and they weren't
Yeah,
had no
well, the thing is,
intention
they
of
lost the
becoming
war.
industrialized.
They lost the war to Japan, and that's just like traumatized Russia. I mean, to me, it wasn't even Germany who started the war. I mean, Germany is like, okay, you know what? We have an IOU. Like, yeah, okay, we will support you. And that's the thing. I mean, it was to me. I mean, it's a complicated situation. I mean, it's just like a Greek. I mean, a lot of people call it the greatest tragedy ever known. It started World War One because of all the bureaucracy failed at every single point.
I like it. Black Gnostic Speak says actually World War II was the final battle between Germany and France that started in the Napoleon era in 1810, and that's kind of true, isn't it? It's just
I don't,
old hostilities, you know.
I don't think World War One wasn't on hostilities. I mean, a lot of stuff died down after Empire was started. A lot of things just died down because everyone just didn't want to fight everyone. Everyone's kind of minding their own business. I mean, the status quo was there until Germany united. And the thing is, until Prussia got involved with Germany, and the thing is, it all kind of escalated.
Yeah.
But Germany itself was a rising superpower and didn't get respect.
Yeah, and they're still a rise. They are the superpower with the new currency over there. I mean, they're calling the shots. You know, how did that work out?
They call the shots with the refugee crisis too.
Yeah,
I mean, they want to be the middleman with the EU.
Yeah,
controlling, and that's kind of like one of their things. I mean, Germany, yeah, they're declawed now, but the thing is, like, it's just like they have Germany is Germany's a very unique environment. I mean, you've seen the Germanic tribes. I mean,
the resources the resources are so great in Germany.
Yeah, and the thing is, the Germanic tribes, they destroyed Rome, but the thing is, Rome was falling anyways.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, also a lot of the Germanic tribes are actually the current Europeans, because you have the Franks, you have the Goths, the Visigoths, you have the Saxons and the Anglos, and they eventually became Anglo-Saxon. Eventually, England, the Welsh, the Celts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot originally. I mean, these were all tribes. Then they became nations. In the Middle Ages, they became kingdoms.
Yeah, they under how that worked out is very interesting sometimes, but you know, and it works up to today with what we have today, and in America, you look at the vast spectrum we have here of culture. Do you know what the greatest, the most thriving culture in America right now? Who's on? What culture is growing the fastest in America?
I think it's the Chinese, but I don't know.
Second, the Germans.
Oh yeah, I mean, Germans have always had like good history here in America.
Yeah, that's. I always thought that was kind of weird. I think it's the Germans and then the Irish and then the Asian culture.
Yeah. I mean, they do thrive, but the thing is, like, I don't know about today because I don't know how feminism has affected that. I mean, we don't have the math, we don't have the statistics.
Yeah, now that's a problem. Sometimes when I go to look for statistics, and I know you probably have this problem, you're trying to look at a social problem.
I mean, I have this problem my dad has this problem every day with Indians because he knows the government doesn't give enough shits to do the statistics.
Yeah, we can find statistics on anything you want about gynocentrism, feminism, and that stuff. But when you go to look for statistics that boil down to our individual cultures or men's social problems, they're hidden. Nobody writes them. Nobody sets them down. Nobody dissects men as a group, and it starts looking at the group dynamics of men.
Yeah, and that's one of the amazing thing about Mgtow. because we do go through all this. We do speculate. I mean, we're kind of like
we're
we're kind
speculating.
of like the first group ever in history to do that.
Yeah, and
I mean, the thing
observations
is,
we are
the
making.
incredible
Yeah,
thing about Mgtow is we're making history, and that's a very powerful thing about Mgtow. And that's kind of like why Mgtow is very powerful, because the thing is like, is Mgtow something that came out of left field, came out of nowhere. We're like an asteroid.
yeah, yeah. It is a very empowering thing when you find what we are doing here is for the first time ever in society, is we're talking about men as a demographics, not a worker culture. They just changed the definition of men from workers.
Yeah, I mean
Because up
it's
to that point, I can look in my I have a 1922 dictionary in front of me, and I keep that purposely for reasons I can look at one dictionary reference and I can go back to 22 and see what the dictionary reference of men was, and it'll say workers.
yeah, and it's kind of amazing. I mean, you see in history, they always talk about all men are created equal and like other stuff like men. When every time they talk about humankind, they always say mankind. They don't
Yeah.
say womankind. And the thing is, the reason why is men are doing all the shit.
Yeah, men are the utility, and we see that as no, we're not just a utility. We're human
Yeah, I
beings.
mean, men make history,
Yeah,
and that's a very true statement. We do. I mean, there's only few. We only have few women who do make history, who are actually notable, and that's
right.
just like it's just like we were kind of brushed off. It's like it's normalized, and in Mgtow it's like okay, but why is it normalized?
Why is it
Why?
normalized? That's the part that drives me crazy when you talk to some of these very intelligent women out there, these psychologists and these social engineers and everything, and then they immediately refer to or they imply that men are this worker society, that they're utility, and then they don't even see how insulting that is to us.
Well,
It's
I mean,
that
in their perspective, it's just
their
like
perspective. Yeah,
it's like we're kind of like basically if you're playing a game of chess, we're like the queen piece. Men are. I mean, the thing is, you don't know what they're going to create. I mean, because you're not intelligent enough to know what they're going to create, but you still think, oh, I did that by guiding him, and that's why they think they're smarter than us. They're like, oh yeah, I gave birth to him. Oh, I did this. I mean, it's kind of like you did this stuff by proxy, and that's like, no, you didn't. You didn't do anything.
you didn't
You
do
were
it.
just like you were just in the right place at the right time. I mean, it's correlation equals causation. It's a logical fallacy in itself. And this is the thing, like you're not great. You're only great if you do something. But the thing is, like the funny thing about that, like I was talking about yesterday with Drew, like a hero. What a hero is basically what he does is like what makes a hero is basically he does a great deed, and by that great deed, he inspires others. And he is admired for his great deed. He inspires others to do greater deeds than he
Yeah, I was
is.
listening to your. It was a very good video you made yesterday, and it has to do with your deeds, and you send it forward.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of funny because heroism is actually masculine trait, and the thing is, doing is just like it's such it's so objective, and that's the thing. It's just like one of the things of we're as men, we're so objective. We're doers. And that's this thing where it's just like you can't be masculine or you can't be thinking yourself you are a hero without actually doing the work. I mean, this is kind of like why people don't like Harry Potter, because the thing is, Harry Potter, if you read through it, or if you go to that anime snob, he reviews, he breaks down all 7 Harry Potter books, and the thing is, like, you look at it, it's just like, oh, there's a lot of logical fallacies in Harry Potter. I mean, you
Right,
look
there
at it,
is.
it's like it's
It's
entitlement, it's entitlement complex, it's luck, it's like plot armor, it's like I mean, and the thing is, like, supposedly because Harry did encompass this, he's still recognized as a hero. But the thing is, like, Harry didn't do anything. I mean, it was his parents. It was like it was luck. It was just like everything around it did everything for him, did everything else.
Yeah.
And he just like it's just like it's also this entitlement complex that made him a hero, and that's just like, and that's how women think of heroes.
Right. There's an assumed that this is the privileges that we're given is assumed.
Yeah, there's an assumption that you actually did something when you
Yeah.
did nothing at all, or
Right.
you just didn't and that's the weird thing about like how women think.
Yeah, and there was certain incidences in Harry Potter. I'm not really big on it. I'm not up on it, but I do know the storyline. And there were certain acts of heroism and bravery Harry had to go through as a vetting process, wasn't there?
I mean, I would recommend watching the anime Snob, because the thing is, like, he points out a lot of inconsistencies. Because the thing is, there are things, there are potions, there are spells that's like, oh, we could have ended the book right here.
Yeah.
We could have ended this whole thing just like, it's basically a god hack. Basically, it's just like, why did you do this, that? And you could have just solved all your problems right then and there. But no, you had to make Harry look like the hero when, like, hey, this is a better idea. Or like, hey, you. And the funny thing, Rowling, to me, she's not a great writer, because the thing is, like, her execution is sloppy.
No, she's not a great writer, and that was she had a ghostwriter on that, didn't she? That was a big talking about. I'm typing right now. Someone said in the chat to invite Black Gnostic speaks in. I keep typing it up on the invite board inside the room, and it won't go through. So I'm going to send an invite if he wants to come in.
Well,
I don't want to pressure
can't
him.
you just click on his link? I mean, click on his icon, his logo, and then like open a new tab, and that might be his page.
Yeah, he's obviously Google isn't putting it through to his page, so I'm going to send it on his message board just like I did to you.
Oh, okay, so basically, you're gonna put it in his YouTube message.
His YouTube message under the
Inbox.
comments under private messages, yeah, so it doesn't get
Inbox. Yeah, it's gonna be in the dashboard. It's gonna be under community message.
Community messages, yeah.
Yeah.
This thing hasn't been working right for since they changed it. I used to be able to just type in on the invite page. You know how this works.
Well, it's kind of funny because like I actually figured out how to do it yesterday. I mean, right before you start the hangout, you can click the Q&A. You have to click the applause. You have to click the showtime to activate all those before you do the hangout. Now, I mean, I still don't know how to answer questions on it, but at least I know how to activate the app.
Yeah, so it gets a little frustrating in here and they're generally changing. They're going to go with this red now, and then they're going to go with something else. And then I
think Google needs to make a manual for this.
Yeah.
Or do a video on this, because the thing is, like, Google, come on.
Yeah, and it has so much to do with your Google Plus page. If I've never talked to you on the Google Plus page, then it's not going to go through. It has no link to it. I suggest talking to everybody on your Google Plus page for a while, and then you get links, and then YouTube picks that up, and then when you send a link in here on the Google Plus invite.
Wow, it's not like Facebook or like
No, well, Facebook does a great job in that. I can start typing a letter in, and it'll just kind of know where I want to go.
Yeah. That's kind of funny, because you Google, you're a search engine. You're the best search engine in the industry, and yet you fail at this.
Yeah, they failed at this little invite page where it just doesn't have that fuzzy logic. I know it has a lot to do with fuzzy logic, and you got to add some kind of.
Well, I know it's computer logic, but the thing is, like, come on, Google, come on,
you guys.
This is what you're best at. This is what you're known for.
Yeah, get together with those Facebook guys.
There he is.
This is Eli. Eli, hello. This Black Gnostic.
Yeah, it's probably got me under a different name, but yeah, this is me.
Okay, hello. This will be the first time I've ever got to talk to you. And it's a pleasure.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Or did we talk in the Ibmore hangout?
No, I don't. I've never been in an Ibmore hangout, so
Okay.
I don't know. It's possible.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's great that we've both been around a long time and kind of bumping into each other on the internet, and but it's good to have you in. We're covering a wide variety of subjects today. I suppose you've been listening from racism to how Mgtow deals with these things to how we personally feel about within our given groups, and it gets also hairy around here, doesn't it? A lot.
Yeah, well, Mgtow is just like any other movement. It's especially a spontaneous movement like this. It hasn't really been defined because it hasn't been around long enough, and everybody's getting upset like it's supposed to, just automatically come up with just rules and regulations and guidelines is just out of its first birth, and it doesn't happen that way. It's an organic movement. It's not a government movement.
To me, the way it works is just like Mgtow and its concept. It's just too simple, where you can just basically. It's kind of like the Bible. You can use it any way you want.
Right.
And that's kind of like why Hangout Gate kind of worked, is you can use it any which way.
Yeah, you can use that as a reference because we are so new and we're developing a
theology
here.
But that's kind of something like what men do. We make.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because we are utilities and we make better utilities than ourselves sometimes. It's just weird.
Right, and plus it's because of the new platforms like social platforms like YouTube and even Facebook and even like this Google Hangouts. I mean that's why it's it's outside of the news structure. Government really can't control this because it's outside their it's outside of their control. They don't know how to handle it, and the feminists really don't know how to handle it because
it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's kind of like Sun Tzu. I mean, we're using indirect tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, we can keep pumping it out, and they have no control over it. And that was the original.
And that's kind of like the problem with Bitcoin too. Bitcoin, you can't control it. You can't.
Not really. No.
No, I mean you could tax Bitcoin on property rights, and you can do sales tax, but like when you go to a reputable dealer. But the thing is, no, you can't really do any. You can't tax income because you can always keep. Because the thing is, like Bitcoin is created by a processor, so you can just like, okay, let's say I do a job, get $1,000,
mm-hmm.
buy a bunch of processors, and still say, yeah, I only make $1,000 a year. And then while your processors are making hundreds of Bitcoins.
Yeah, it was the idea. The first came around was the trade. I think there was a web page called The Trade, and men were trading on the trade. And then the government seen that, they shut that down right away. It's like they were so fearful of it. And then Bitcoin, I can't remember what the first Bitcoin was.
I mean, look at Amazon. I mean, Amazon now has to be taxed.
Yeah.
The thing is, there was no law on it, and the thing is, like, they couldn't figure out how to regulate it. I mean, this is the same problem with drugs too. I mean, drugs. I mean, I've been thinking about this for Mgtow, because the thing is, like, when a hard collapse happens, what is Mgtow gonna do about drugs? And like, if we are to make a settlement, and my opinion was, well, we can't tax them. I mean, we can try to regulate them by saying, okay, yeah, you can have open business, but the thing is, the only way to get people back on taxes is property rights and sales tax, and that's it.
Yeah.
You can't really impose income tax unless you have an overbearing force.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it has to be at some point, not even forced. It has to be a social agreement that people actually agree to.
Yeah.
For the most part,
it has to be a social concept.
Yeah, I mean, it's a social contract, but it has to be an agreement, just like Bitcoin or a dollar or gold. It's a social agreement. I agree to accept that whatever it is in payment for my labor or my service. So it's an agreement. It's always an agreement. Even taxes are an agreement, because if 300 million people don't want to pay taxes, what can the government do? Nothing.
Yeah, and that's kind of like one of the reasons, and that's That was one of the weaknesses of the federal government. I mean, the first draft
Mm-hmm.
of the federal government. I mean, the federal government couldn't tax. I mean, you had to donate to the federal government. But then basically it was made into an official federal government where like, yeah, we can impose federal government can impose laws on everybody else.
Well, at the end of the day, any government, federal, local, or even, you're an American Indian or Native American, uh, even try. There's always a government, even if it's a chief.
Yeah, no, it's
Even if it's a chief and a
government's
council.
government's a necessary evil.
It's a necessary evil. But the thing is, the government has to supply a service to the populace, otherwise it'll get overturned. Even America, we don't like taxes. We don't like a strong federal government. But the thing is, if they supply us with enough services to keep us happy, we're not going to overturn the government.
Yeah, I mean, our army. It's like, I mean, I think what does the government provide? I mean, it's supposed to provide a free market. It's supposed to provide the army to protect us and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of like the reason why we like government.
The large army still, we tolerate a large army. We tolerate taxes. We tolerate everything because of the first world lifestyle that we have.
Yeah,
and the government, and we actually condone the army because we know what the armed services do. They bring in resources from the rest of the world to come back to America.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because like it's I mean, Benjamin Franklin always said, you can't have security and have freedom.
No.
I mean, this is very true. I mean, absolute freedom, absolute anarchy is total chaos.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's kind of like we have to, as Americans, as any state, we have to find the balance between both freedom and security. And the thing is, like, it's like we have to find the middle ground, the golden mean.
Yeah, like look at the privateers in the early 1700s that were they had some kind of duty with getting, there were blockades happening, and we couldn't get we couldn't get shipments of certain things from the other parts of the world. So there was
pirates are actually your best example.
Yeah. Yeah, William Bligh, one of our president's forefathers, was a privateer. I always thought that was weird. But William Clinton seen it very well. The standing army's job. You can't have people sinking ships coming across the sea. And
I mean, I think at that day it was called Pax Britannia. And because the thing is, like, economics thrives under security. It does.
Yes.
Yeah. Because there's Pax Romana, there's Pax Americana, and the thing is, and that's kind of like the funny thing about freedom is like, yeah, we can do with freedom. Absolute freedom means to do whatever you want, but the thing is, like, there's a certain limit to that. I mean, I think Thomas Jefferson called it this, like, there's natural freedom and then there's civil freedom, and like and he said, like, yeah, Indians have a natural freedom, and he just said this because Indians, like, they did what they had to do, they did anything necessary at the time, whereas like people in the 13 original colonies, they had to live within a certain amount of security just to survive.
Yeah, that's a good point about the borders we put up are the borders that are going to restrict us.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's part of the reason. The borders are part of the reason why. So we can keep the economy nice and neat. So we can regulate everything. So we can find a balance between security and freedom. It's just like government as a whole. It needs power to survive.
Right. It does.
And the thing is, like, you have to, and that's the thing you have to realize about government. It needs power to survive. It needs to be an imposing force. It needs to be a leviathan, or else people's self-interests are going to go crazy. Right, I mean, this is why Thomas Hodd. This is why Thomas Hodd wrote the Leviathan. The Leviathan basically is the government.
Yeah.
The government keeps everyone fears the Leviathan, therefore everyone does what the Leviathan says.
Yeah, controlled force.
Yeah, and this is the monopoly on violence, and monopoly on violence is kind of a necessary evil because you look at places like our ghettos, you look at places in Africa. I mean, it's total. Yes, you can't have you can't get good education. You can't get good economics. You see monopolies all over the place. Gangs run crazy. It's just you can't live in an absolute free society.
Yeah, if you take a look at the fall of the Soviet Union, and you look at Moscow in the early '90s and the violence that went on, man, it's what happens in the urban black ghettos is nothing compared to what they did. Man, they were blowing up cars and launching RPGs.
That's also the other side to it. You can't have too much. The government can't have too much power. It can't. I mean, it's not going to be able to sustain itself. I mean, we see totalitarianism die out every now and then. We've seen monarchies fall.
Oh yeah.
We've seen oligarchies fall. We've seen democracies fall. I mean, governments will fall. It's just a matter of time, and it's a matter of economics.
No, go ahead, Joe.
That goes back to the Plato thing before capitalism turns to the son of an old president turning over to a new president. You get that totalitarian government. When does capitalism start falling into that totalitarian government? And then the other point I wanted to make was Germany regulating the influx of immigration now. And we can see that with the euro and the power and the force that they can provide now, and their insistence on what's going on with the immigration in relationship to these new borders that they're putting up.
I mean, it's kind of sad that Germany. I mean, it's because of Nazi guilt.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't understand why in Europe you have to basically. Why are you guys so guilty?
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish.
It's okay, I can understand in America. I mean, America, it's written in the history. Everybody knows this, that. You did to the Indians, what you did to the blacks, what you did to the Mexicans. It's all there in history, and it's all there in history with the empires too. But the thing is, you guys were fighting against yourselves. You guys were like titans fighting titans.
Yeah, but if the thing is that all the answers don't always lie in one place, because the academics know. The academics know it's precisely why there's immigration. That's how come you haven't heard any academics against it. Europe is having a demographic problem. In other words, white female women, because of feminism and birth control and all that stuff, aren't producing enough babies to keep your structure. If you're at 1.4 and you need 2.1 babies to basically stabilize your culture, then you have to make up that deficit. Otherwise, you're going to get swamped by another culture, another group, because an outside group that's growing at 4 and you're down below replacement. It doesn't take a genius to know that sooner or later you won't be able to maintain your grip on your sovereignty anymore. So the thing is, they don't want to tell you that we're allowing these people in, because there's no way in this day and age that 1 million refugees are going to walk 1,000 miles into your borders. It's not going to happen unless you allow it.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what happened to Europe. I mean, not Europe. What happened to Rome? I mean, Rome outsourced a lot of its military to the Germanic tribes. It outsourced the control to the Germanic tribes. I mean, because there wasn't enough Romans to do everything.
Right.
Yeah, we've seen this in America with the Ronald Reagan era, and Ronald Reagan, he's seen a real problem, and with his immigration policies, he exceeded immigration by like 2.2 million people. And he did that purposely, so we can supplement the growth of our industry at that point. But the failure was to understand that the 2.2 million that the mathematicians and all those guys worked out that he exceeded, from that date, you can take a look at the date now, and then take a look at the breeding and the having children, and that works out to like 17 million now. And it's so-called, it matches up perfectly with the rate of unemployment. By exceeding that level, he exceeded the rate of, it's never at that point that it's going to impact you. It's going to impact you 40 years later, after 3 generations, you know. So we can look at the problem now, and everybody's afraid to face that a little bit of regulation that was already set up by some very intelligent men, that did the numbers, did the math, and how this thing was going to grow. And that's what they have to, men got to take hold of this thing and say, hey, we got to do the, we're gonna just be bean counters at this point and start looking at the reality of 50, 60, 70 years down the road, and what impacts that's going to have on Social Security, what impacts it's going to have on the economic flow and ebb of things, and then what impact
I
it's going
mean, to me, I mean, the reason how to fix immigration is you have to have quality immigrants coming in,
Right.
and that's kind of like the only real solution, because you allow too many unqualified immigrants, too many laborers.
Yeah, too
I
much
mean,
labor,
it's
well,
yeah,
that's what,
and not enough
questions
Ks coming
Yeah.
into the
there's not enough
local
Ks,
population instead of Rs. You're letting Rs come into the population. I mean, it's a bad idea. I mean, it's just like the Rs are just gonna overpopulate. They're gonna breed because that's a very good environment for the Rs. But the thing is, like, if you're a K, you're trying to build something great. I mean, you can't have any interference.
Yeah.
It's sad that you have to basically be a social Darwinist.
Yeah,
But the thing is, like, it's
we settled that problem with immigration. When you get your immigration and you're going through immigration, one of the first questions they ask is, what can you provide for this company this country that nobody else can do? And it's a simple little question that means so much. What can you do that nobody else can do? How can you be productive in this society? And whether you're a cook or a cleaner, or you can even say, hey, I clean bathrooms better than anybody else. And that's a good answer. But the quality of the individuals that we're letting in, there should be some kind of a what, and I think that's a really good question. What can you do?
I mean, it's the thing is that what Republicans won't tell you, which because the large manufacturers use this particular labor, is they could solve it easily by starting a guest worker program. It's real, because most immigrants, I could say like 90% of immigrants that come to this country don't come here just to squat. They come here to get a job. And if you have an efficient guest worker program to where they work for 6 months or a year, and you keep track of these people, it's because the computers can keep track of somebody on that owes child support anywhere in the world.
Oh yeah.
So they can keep track of an immigrant inside your borders, because there's very little cash business done inside the United States anymore. They can keep track of you if they want. In fact, there's a big business in false Social Security numbers, and the Social Security system says we know where the people are because we see their numbers come up. But the thing is, if you do that, then say a person like Joe, who's a blue collar guy that does a certain amount of labor and demands a certain price, he's going to demand a higher price if you don't have people that come across the border with similar skills, maybe not as good, but similar skills.
And that's also
undermining the price. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's also a problem. I mean, the saturation of labor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, and that goes back to free market. And so you're expanding the free market, and that's kind of like why you let a lot of unskilled immigrants in. Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's cheaper labor, but the thing is, like, it's not going to affect you now, but the thing is, like, when they do the cost benefit analysis at the initial moment, like, okay, this isn't harmful, but if you look at the long term, this is not the best idea, and that's and people are just like they're just too focused on the quick buck.
Right. We hear a lot about free education and that, and we should. I like the idea of free education, and it costs way too much now to go through a college, and you get too little for your money. There's not enough bang for the
Well,
buck anymore.
you have to know
That's
which
true.
college to go to. I mean, you have to jump through hoops, and that's kind of like what I did,
Oh yeah.
and like that's what I'm doing right now. I mean, right now I'm taking all my GEDs at a community college, even though like I already took a semester at the private university.
Yeah. Private universities is more for certification more than
Yeah.
anything else. Because
Yeah,
a
and the
lot of
thing is
people.
also you
Go ahead.
can also, I mean, you don't have to go to college. I mean, you can go to trade school,
Oh
Right.
yeah.
and like it's like they always need welders. They're always going to need they're going to need accountants, and you can like there's a lot of things you can do. I mean, you
Hmm.
can always be like a car make. You can always make parts for cars. You can always work on cars.
Right. You can get certified and you get credits for those things. It's not like you're not work. You're just doing something that's very useful in your society. A bricklayer or an electrician, a plumber.
I
Uh,
mean, you can make furniture, and you can make good quality furniture for cheap
yeah.
compared
Hmm.
to IKEA. I mean, IKEA is overpriced, man. I mean, if you just do it yourself, I mean, you can actually sell it more for IKEA or same at the same price, but with better quality.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and like 90% of what colleges actually teach you in class can be learned online. The thing is, how to,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no,
how
the
do you,
internet's
yeah, the internet. You can learn basically uh,
quantum
magnetism,
physics.
quantum physics on basically online. But the thing is, you got to be certified. Okay, if you're a physicist, how do we know that you're a physicist? Somebody's got
Well,
to certify
yeah,
you.
and things about college. I mean, there's certain things. I mean, like writing. Writing in particular, it's not the easiest. It's not something. It's not the easiest skill ever.
Hmm.
Because the thing is, like, writing is a lot more complicated than you think. Because the
Right.
thing is, like, it's like,
Yeah, but the
yeah,
thing is,
because it's like, there's like a million different ways how to write a paper.
hmm
But the thing is, like, in college, you're supposed to learn, okay, well, here's 5 different ways how to make a good paper, how to do an argument. And the thing is, like, and some of that reason why it's hard to write a good paper is because of human error. And it's that learning how to discipline yourself and writing a paper is hard.
and you need the feedback from a teacher.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you
the
do.
thing is, you can even do that because there's a lot of English majors that are out of work that you basically outsource online for cheap.
Yeah.
They said, oh, you can learn the course, you can read the book, you can learn the course, you can look at videos, and then you can actually write assignments and then send it to them so they can correct it and they can give
Yeah.
you feedback on it.
I
You can
mean,
outsource it, but the thing is certifying it.
yeah. I mean, to me, the problem is this: there isn't enough colleges. I mean, because the thing is, like, there's not enough community colleges because I'm here in California. A lot of students here are not even from the local population. A lot of them are out of state. I mean, I've seen guys from New York. I've seen
Hmm.
guys, a lot of international students. I've seen guys like a lot of out of state people.
Right.
Right. Because
And then,
California supplements
Yeah.
education in a greater
yeah,
way
I
than
mean,
New
but the thing
York.
is, like, the whole state system, that whole community college state system was actually built in California first, and a lot of other states don't have that system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we can
Yeah.
talk about the internet in general. You can go buy a simple program like Grammar Genius.
Hmm.
If you go through that whole tutorial and learning process on
Yeah,
Grammar Genius, you're going to be a terrific writer.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's better to learn it yourself, but and not be so reliant on technology. But and that's also the thing too. It's like professors can teach you certain things that you might not find on the internet because on the internet it's oversaturated. You have to know how to filter through everything,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
part of that is like learning how to filter, learning how to do a lot of things accurate, getting that hands-on experience is done in college. And some of that stuff, some of it
Replicated.
can
Yeah.
some of it
Yeah.
can be replicated. Some of it it can't be replicated because like it's not out there on the internet, or it is on the internet. It's that it's a small piece on the internet. Like it's like you're finding a needle in a haystack.
Right. When you're talking about writing with inflections and writing with passion, you need someone to show you how to write with inflections and
Yeah,
passion the
Hmm.
properly. Otherwise, it's going to come off as maybe
gibberish.
gibberish and crazy. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. For someone that's done it, you need that mentor figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just part, and that's kind of like why college is successful. And also, each college is not all the same. I mean, some of them, like my dad's college, his English department is 10th in the nation.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, and these UCLA and USC, I mean, some of these guys transfer to do their English degrees Cal State LA, and they're just like they're falling behind.
Right.
They can't compete.
Right. Yeah, we see.
And even though it's a state college, it's like, no, it may be a state college, but it has the 10 best English department in the nation.
Yeah. Now, is that due to the gender studies? What we were
Well,
talking about before, making
I mean,
the
you do have to do diversity, but the thing is, like, they also put in genetics with
Yeah.
that thing, and
yeah,
like,
you can get a sub degree in
and also
genetics.
you also have to learn the classics. You have to learn the classics. I mean, a lot of colleges nowadays they're not dealing with the classics; they're dealing with the criticisms, which
Yeah.
is basically the historical criticism, the gender criticism, the queer theory,
Yeah.
Yeah.
structure, deconstruction,
Yeah.
new criticism. I mean, all that stuff. I mean, they're more focused on that rather than like the classics, where like it's logic.
reading,
It's like
writing,
what
yeah,
is
arithmetic.
the structure? Why does this work? Why doesn't this work in
Now,
this context?
I've seen examples like at Occidental College, you can get a gender studies program and then get a quick pass to a 90-day degree into engineering.
Yeah, and also Shakespeare.
That's funny.
Shakespeare. Here's the thing about Shakespeare. Shakespeare. I mean, you have to take like you can take like 10 classes just on Shakespeare alone, and the thing is like you would have a lot of content. You will learn so much just from Shakespeare alone, on just how you write, storytelling, jokes,
Yeah.
structure, I mean poetry. I mean Shakespeare. I mean he's like the master. I mean he's like the best English professor there is. I mean because and that's the funny thing. And it's just like in like English, like language in general, communication. The reason why it's so hard, or it's supposed to be so hard, is because of basically it's like water. And the thing is just like it's like
very
water.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
multiple.
it's very fluid, and the thing is you have to tame the current.
Yeah.
Words. You have to
Yeah.
go. Okay, idea. There's a word. Turn. Another word. Turn. And it's part of that. It's part of that communication.
Yeah.
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 And that's-
Yeah. That's the funny thing about English. It's very complex and very simple at the same time.
Well,
depending
it's
on
just
who
like
wields it.
language arts in general. Any form of literature in general is like that.
Yeah,
And
different
that's-
styles, and
Yeah.
you go read Steinbeck.
And also,
and
yeah,
try
I
to
mean,
read Barniket after that. It just it's not going to make sense.
yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's also like a lot of things don't make sense. Sometimes you have to be told this, that, and sometimes you can get over 50 plus meanings just from a single sentence.
Oh yeah, that wording. I used that the other day as we were talking about the different meanings of words, and when the government posed the war on drugs, no one looked at the middle word "on," which has 16 different meanings.
And that's also the thing. I mean, there's words that have solid definitions that are not changeable, and then there are words that do change over time.
Right. And I often get accused of using words in an unfamiliar way.
Yeah, and the thing is like, I mean, you see, and that's kind of like way postmodernism works in English and like language arts. It's because the fluidity of it. It's too fluid. You can't. It's hard to ground things. It's not like science where you can just ground everything.
Yeah, it gets very difficult when writing. I use the example of I tried once in my life to be a writer on a sports forum, and you have to. It's the gender studies thing, and it's tailoring down the information to the demographics you're pointing at, and you have to write at a 6th grade education. on a sports forum, or else no one's going to know what you're talking about. If you go to a sports forum and try to write at a 12th grade education, you might as well wrap it up, you know. It's not going to work. So, and it goes back to the what we were talking about, tailoring things down so it works to the general population. And then in education, oh, we just lost Animating. Okay. Yeah, they probably come back in. They tailor it down to the general population, and we're dumbing things down for the general population.
Right, we are. And they found that out. They saw that in the late 80s and early 90s, where even kids coming into Harvard and Yale, the Ivy League schools, they had to dumb down the classes for the kids coming in because their skills weren't up to par to the children just like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
10 years prior. So it's a.
I remember the big push for the pre-college education courses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean they had to retailer their whole educational system, even in the Ivy League schools, and some of that is because can be directly attributed to feminism, because they had to simplify a lot of things.
To simplify the math so the girls understand.
Right, because male learning is based on competition. In other words, letting the cream rise to the top.
It's based on logic. It's based on structure. Yeah. It's based on mechanicalism, and you're learning the mechanics of everything. And the thing is, then that's how males think.
But it's also based on competition, to where the best will rise to the top. I mean, it's not egoism, but saying males are naturally competitive. Every male knows that. I will work to be the best, and I will, and a male will accede if you're better than he is. Well, women do not. Women all think that they're a group, and every woman will feel bad if she's not the best. If she's not,
and if someone is better than the group, they'll bring that person down.
Bring that person down. This is just a natural, female trait. They want to.
It's a natural collective trait.
Yeah, it's a consensus trait.
Because it doesn't just apply to females. I mean, if you go to Japan, they do the same thing. I mean, it's just a group mentality.
Yeah, Barbara struck on it says that men sometimes we feel that we have to acquiesce to gynocentrism because there's this entitlement with it.
Part of the inconsistency with education is that at elementary school level to high school level, I mean, they're not all the same across the nation, and part of that is part of it is because that's state-regulated schools, and part of it is that the federal government gets no say. I mean, if you look at college, the SATs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the thing is, like, they're accepted with all colleges, and that's not something. No other education institution can do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of high schools, they don't even get above 1,000. I mean, there's plenty of high schools that don't even get above 1,500, and that's not really a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they there's a very good book that I'm about halfway through it because I'm reading it on and off. It's called The Boy Problem, and she's a feminist chick. Okay, she's a feminist chick, and you can see sometimes it comes out in her writing, but she documents all the programs that were put in basically to educate boys. The Prussian schooling system was there because you had a lot of immigrant people coming in, and you had a lot of boys on the street, and they didn't know what to do with them.
Well, the Prussian education system was the first compulsory education system ever invented. I mean, it was supposed to make soldiers.
Right.
Originally, it was supposed to basically be an engine, a war machine, and supposed to be one of the fundamentals of the war machine.
Yeah, well, it's two components to the there's two components to the Prussian schooling system. It's basically compulsory education, not only to make soldiers, but also to socialize the German tribes into having a German identity. And then say after the draft riots in 1860, they brought in the Prussian schooling system not only to educate white males, but also to give white males, European males, which had separate identities, into a so-called white identity. In other words, to make Americans.
It was to create cohesion.
To create cohesion, and it's been used. It's been used all over the world. Most schooling systems all over the world, compulsory schooling systems all over the world,
they're homogenous.
They're homogenous. They use the Prussian schooling system model.
Right. Yeah. We have other systems that blend very well with that. Like,
and the thing is, the thing with charter schools is charter schools have actually figured out how to hack that.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out how to do that. I mean, and that's very cool. I mean, I went to charter school, and that's why I'm in college now. Is because they mostly get a lot of minority students. Like it's like 98% minority students, and 80% of them went to college, a 4-year university.
Right.
And that's like extremely rare. And this is just Boyle Heights, this is East LA.
Oh yeah, yep.
And that's just incredible because, and the thing is, like, we can hack it. We can hack education. We don't have to use the Prussian model anymore. But the thing is, like, nobody wants to use the new systems because the thing is they're new. And part of it also is it destroys the narrative of, like, these kids are poor, they can't compete, and that so basically you would also you would have like a saturation of well-educated people, and like governments don't want that.
No.
Right. They minimalize. That goes back to the minimalization of the male trades. The Catholic school, and it was that we had set up is basically to get boys into these trade schools where they were educated very well in these trades, and then all of a sudden we got this gynocentric system that wants to minimalize what the plumbers.
Well, it wants to maximize women education, and it doesn't really give a shit about male education.
Exactly.
No, it doesn't give a shit about male. It doesn't give a shit about the woodworkers, the plumbers, the electricians, and the pipe fitters.
I kind of feel bad for, like, I mean, at least I had my dad teach me how to do plumbing, how to make furniture, how to fix a house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's because that's like father-son projects I always did during my lifetime. I mean, I was always helping them build something, repair something, and that's a lot of guys now, a lot of people my age don't have that experience.
No, yeah, that's traditionally the way that boys learned, with hands-on, and that's tradition. That's the way they like to learn. Yeah.
And that's the thing with the charter schools; they recognize all different forms of learning: hands-on, global,
right,
hearing versus seeing, and there's just like so many different, and there's just so many different ways people learn. It's very diverse, and the thing is, like, you can create a curriculum that hits all of them. And like this curriculum I'm talking about, it's called Mastery Learning, and that's what the people in Mark and Eva's Stern Mass are doing. But they're having problems because a lot of the kids they go to college, are coming back not being able to compete in college. But the reason is for, like, a lot of it's financial problems. A lot of it is cognitive thinking. And the thing is, like, a lot of high schools don't have cognitive thinking. And you need to do critical thinking, cognitive thinking while you're in college. And that's kind of like in my first semester, I really struggled. I mean, I got D's, I failed a class. I mean, I'm still struggling, but the thing is, like, I'm working my way back. I mean, I'm going against the grind. And the thing is, like, when people go to college, I mean, they hit the grind and they're shocked. It's like they know it's kind of funny. It's like
you're an adult all of a sudden. You're an adult.
It's like one of those movies. It's like you don't know how to run because you never ran.
Right.
You don't know how to fight because you never fought someone before, and that's just like and that's what happened when you go to college.
Yeah, first year, freshman. Yeah, especially a large university, where you're an adult and you come out of a high school setting where you got a lot of personal attention, and the teacher knew your name to a point where you're an adult and the professor doesn't know your name.
It's kind of funny because when you go to college, it's like you're kind of like you have some kind of
or like mentality when you first go to college when you're a freshman. And the thing is like and then you freak out as soon as you look at the material, as soon as you're not doing good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, high school was easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, okay, I can do this. Da, da, da. And for me, like, I was always the A- student.
Okay.
And the thing is, like, when I got to college, I was like, what? I'm failing. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm panicking. I'm procrastinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I was freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Like how because
lack of,
I never really struggled in education.
Yeah, lack of discipline. You know, they actually sit down there and actually work through it. In our you know, unless you're like a tiger mom, you know, like that's why the Asians do so well in college.
It's because you get all that.
Well,
you get all that early on.
Yeah, you get the study discipline. You know, like even when I was in high school, long time ago, the Asians. I would talk to my Asian friends, and they have to go home and study 5-6 hours, you know, a day, you know, a night.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. You don't even have to go. And the funny thing is, you don't have to. Sometimes I think the Asians overdo it. You don't have to overdo it sometimes.
Yeah, but that's why.
And the thing is, it's like it's about quality, not quantity, and that's the thing. But yeah, and the thing is like gynocentric education, just like it basically it's for drones, and they're teaching people how to be drones, and that's not how basically, and they're making dysfunctional people.
Yeah, that's not how the world works.
No. I mean, it's survival of the fittest. It's not like it's not like we're it's not that we're all equal. I mean, a lot of us are different. A lot of us have to use our differences to survive, and that's something you don't get in high school. I mean, there are people who do get it because they struggle through high school.
Yeah. Applied technology is applied technology because it works in the system. Yeah, but the thing is,
sometimes like there are kids there who are so smart. Kids like me who just like get on the first try, and like it's just like there's people who are not challenged. There are people who don't know people who don't know how to do mastery.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's not taught.
No, it's not taught. It's not part of the curriculum, and that's kind of like that's something you have to make. And the reason why it's I mean, they used to do music. Mm-hmm. You have to learn how to play instrument in like classical learning. The thing is, but the American system now, they don't force you to learn music. And the thing is, one of the things about music is like you have to use cognitive thinking. You have to use mastery to make music. So it kind of preps you.
Yeah, and even in the trades, it's the same thing. It's about mastery. You know, you have to. There's a certain standard that you have to meet because it's like sports. It's either right or it's wrong, and there is no fuzzy gray area.
Well, it's either it's like. Yeah, and the thing is like usually you can just coach through high school. I mean that's kind of like what I did, but the thing is like I didn't realize I was doing it that way.
Yeah, you could take the tuba player in the band, but it's not just the tuba player. Everybody goes, oh, well, he's just a tuba player. No, he's learning music.
Mm-hmm.
He's learning the notes. He's learning how to play with others. He's learning so many other skills in that it'll generally get him a scholarship for that because there's so much more to it. Just sometimes we don't look at those little things like what is what that little ring, that tri-shaped ring that they just bing. No, that guy's learning as much as the rest of the students too around him. Just because he's playing the cymbal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's just little things like certain way you hit it. It's a lot of small things you learn, but it's all those small things that come together. You can create great things.
Oh,
it's like a lot of small movable parts making into a watch.
Right. Yeah. It's repetition sometimes a lot in school too. People have to get by the repetition or something.
Sometimes it's like you learn a little skill, you learn a little technique, you learn a different technique, then you combine them together.
Mm-hmm.
And then you learn a third one, learn a fourth one, then you have a whole skill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way human beings work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember my first few months in electronics and basic electronics in this class. All we did was we wired consistently every single day common outlets
Mm.
over and over and over and over. It would make me crazy. And then at the end, we went into the more advanced stuff. And then when we finally made it to uh, the house was done in like 15 minutes because we did that so repetition. It was so much
Exactly.
repetition that you just boop, 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 and everything was right. And then he says, now see where that repetition paid off?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you take that out into your business practices now, into my business practice. I used to be an electrician. I don't do that no more. Gynocentric reasons. Uh, you can actually do that in a house, rewire a whole house in a couple hours. And that's repetition. You've done it so many times before, and you don't have to think about the little equations because, well, I know it's right.
Yeah, I mean, you internalize it.
I
You know,
internalize it. Yeah.
internalize it.
Basically, I know there's the part of the back of your brain where like it just normalizes everything you learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
muscle. It's kind of like muscle memory, or just like 2 + 2. I mean, at first it's like it's hard to do, but the thing is, over time, repetition, you just know it's 4. You don't even have to. You don't even have to think about it.
Right. I mean, it's the same thing with if you're an English major, you're writing. You read a paragraph and you automatic. It doesn't look right. You don't have to think about the rules or anything like that. You just know you read it. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't look right. I mean, because you've internalized the rules.
Yeah. Now we can take a look at this. Interestingly enough, we can take a look at this topic and gynocentrism and gender studies and that. Are they trying to normalize and internalize boys to think this way
Yes.
through repetition?
Yes. Yes. And what they want to
Part
do.
of it is just like it sounds good. It's basically it looks good.
Yeah, it looks good on paper.
It's like a crappy foundation, but the aesthetic of it looks good, and that's just the thing. It's like it sounds good. If you look at Mary Rosencraft, or like one of the
Mary, the book Mary we talking about?
the
Wollstonecraft?
author, and like
18 on,
some
so it's an 1880. Yeah.
yeah, some of the original women's. I mean, like some of the original women's work,
Mhm.
like where she had the opposite to Ernest Hemingway. I think her name was something Wolf. Like you look at her sentences, there's no structure to it. I mean, it just like
Yeah, it was
law,
fiction.
data sentences. They go off in tangents. They basically they look pretty. They do. They look fancy, but that's it.
Yeah. Well, we
And the
try
thing
to
is,
relate that to Hemingway. Uh,
Hemingway, he's direct. He's short. I mean, Hemingway, he's implicit. But the thing is, that's because he writes like a newspaper writer.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, and that's the difference between how a man writes. He writes with structure. He
Right.
writes with concrete. But a woman, she writes.
With emotion.
Yes, and that's the
Yeah.
thing.
That's the
And
difference. Yeah,
emotion
women. Yeah, I think I
isn't
did a
concrete.
video on that about one of 5 things about women. Women feel the world. They don't. Men
And
think the world.
and that's why
Yeah.
Rosencraft. You look at her work. I mean, I'm trying to read a page of it. It's just like it drove me mad.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the
That's
thing is, there wasn't consistency. There was just like she would go on and on and on and on and on. And this is worse than Victorian writing. Where they
Yeah.
would just go on. At least they talked about one thing. Or
right.
described it. But the thing is, like she did that, but she just like more information. The feelings, how it feels and stuff.
Yeah,
And
how it
it's like,
feels and stuff. Yeah.
let's get to the point.
Yeah. That's why 50 Shades of Grey makes men tear their hair out and women love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about.
I
It's not.
mean,
It's about feeling, and it's not about a structure to where there's a point to it. Because in 50
Yeah.
Shades of Grey, there's no point to it, and men say, "Where's the point? Where's the point?" There is no point.
yeah. And that's kind of the funny thing because like a lot of the works, like the Beowulfs, the
Well, this.
Oedipus, Homer, and what are some of the other things like Tel Genji and like Gilgamesh,
Okay.
Odysseus, and Oedipus. It's like all these things. They all have meaning. There's all points to all these things.
Yeah, there's a great with Frederick Douglass, the orator.
Yeah, there's a
with
point.
His first book he said he picked up in life was Hemingway, I think it was, and then he read The Orator, which is a very uncommon book, and he learned how to do his speaking skills from that, and that's what I always equated that with what we're doing here in Mgtow, because it's very, very pertinent the way he spoke, the frankness, the bluntness of his words.
I mean, to me, I would consider. I mean, you read through a lot of Hemingway stuff. I mean, he says a lot of the same things we say.
Yeah.
I mean, he's passion, like if we were ever say that, he's kind of like a proto Mgtow.
Yeah, when I hear Barbarossa speak in some of his earlier stuff, all I can think is The Orator. I think Frederick Douglass, because he had that passion, that skill that was obviously learned somewhere. Where did he learn that at?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. And the men write with structure. Men write. I mean, there's an intentional. Yeah, if there was a mistake, most of the time that mistake was intentional.
Yeah. The fragmented sentence that leads to a question.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, and yeah, sometimes they do go out on tangent, but the overall story is still there. The structure is still there. I mean, men's work is very structuralized. I mean, and also basically we talk about complex topics. We break them down in stories, and we break down morality. We break down ethics, and that's kind of like men's writing.
Yeah, and that's just the nature of men coming through the writing. You know, that's why men build and women basically don't, because men want structure. You know, I mean, even in marriage, that's why matriarchal marriages don't work, is because there's no structure. Men want structure. Women actually want structure, but they want men to give them structure, which is an oxymoron.
That's funny.
I mean,
they want provided structure.
I mean, there are the few surprises. Yeah. I mean, there are a few surprises like Frankenstein. There's still a structure. I mean, Frankenstein's actually there is a structure to it, and Jane Eyre, there's a structure to it. That
that's interesting. Yeah, you know, when they three met, to write those in the cabin, and all three of those stories that came out of Frankenstein, and I can't remember the other two. Was it Sherlock Holmes?
Sherlock Holmes structure.
Yeah, and there was three writers that met in the woods there, and they all write the stories, and there was a lot. Even when she was with two other males that were providing her structure when she was writing that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, she might. I know there's a lot of good women poets, but the thing is, like poetry.
Poetry is feels.
Yeah, poetry is feels. I mean, but. Beowulf is a poem.
Yeah, and that's masculine. Is that? That's more masculine. Feels, heroic feels. Yeah, it goes back to your heroic concept.
Yeah, and the thing is, like a lot of heroic values, that's actually masculine.
Yeah.
Values.
Yeah. Well, you can see, if you take this stuff in its totality, that's what. Good thing about Mgtow, when we start talking to each other and we start bringing up these concepts, you can see, when Joe talks about his blue collar work, which is the trades, or you get Barbarossa, or you get even somebody like Thunderfoot talking about science. You can see this male structure, this structured male thought, defined over the internet, so it spreads out, and you can see the difference between a female structure, and it's really very obvious, and that's what Mgtow allows you to do. Is you can see the nature of men and women, as it is.
Actually, what's so funny? I mean, the guy Groundworks for Metaphysics Mgtow,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, his series Marcus, his theory on feminism. He breaks down postmodernism, like feminism part 1, feminism part 2. I mean, a lot you look at like the origins of feminism, and he explains it all, the metaphysics of everything. I mean, and the funny thing is, metaphysics and like postmodernism wasn't even created by women. They were the ideas were stolen by women for their own agenda.
Right.
They're tools, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the tools were designed by men. A lot of them postmodern was designed by men.
Women mimic what they see. We have this in the Gamergate society now. Women are mimicking the ability to program games that was based on the work that men did before, and they don't see that they're just mimicking it.
Yeah. No, I mean the thing is like, they hijack stuff.
They hijack Superman. We got Supergirl. They couldn't come up with a Superwoman that was equally strong and independent. No, they had to.
I mean, Wonder Woman was created by men.
Yeah, Dan Schuster. It's funny that they say we want to be strong and independent, but they don't want to be unique.
No, part of that is the collective. Well, they do, but the thing is they don't have the ability to do it. They are not sexually dimorphic enough to do it.
Yeah, we were looking at the male brain the other day, me and one of my viewers, and we were dissecting the picture that I had put up, and he says, well, the section just right of the frontal lobe in a female is not that controls. It's a control section. Is used very differently, and then we looked at the back areas that are used very differently, and we realized that they don't have no ability to do that certain uniqueness, because they're running on they're running from the brain stem up to what we refer to in the lizard brain. That's the hippocampus and the hypothalamus area, and they're running from that area up to the overactive frontal lobes, and they have white matter, and it's just confusing them like an autistic child. There's too much going on.
Oh, an autistic child actually can think logically.
Yeah, very structurally, logically.
Yeah, and that's kind of funny because a lot of kids with Asperger's, a lot of kids with who are autistic, I mean, they create great things, man. I mean, these guys.
Oh, God. You ever see an example of that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like an autistic woman who basically there was a dipping thing I saw on HBO. Basically, so basically what the guys were doing, I mean, it was a very linear dipping. They would shove the cows in. And she made a circular one. So the cows basically would just naturally go in there, circulation. I mean, they would go off on a tangent, and then they would swim into basically the pool, which basically took off ticks and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's because she was washing them.
Oh,
constantly
I've seen that
logically, and I forgot what it was called, but yeah. See, that's how a man thinks.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So I was sitting down with an autistic child once. I used to babysit for autistic childs just for extra money and everything, and we were doing art at a kitchen table. A very nice neighborhood, very nice. Everything was, and I said to him, I says, we're just going to draw. He says, what are we going to draw? Because he didn't know what to draw. His mind, there was too much going on, and I said, just concentrate on that tree and that rock out there, and draw it. So I started drawing mine, and I looked over. And he had drawn something so beautiful, so precise. It was like it was just a small piece of the actual paper. Everything else was just like cartoonish and very. But there was one piece. I went to grab it from him, so I could just keep it and show everybody what he had actually done. And he scribbled over it real fast. He got excited, but. It was absolutely beautiful what he had done. His mind had just, once he had applied that structure and just to focus on that for a minute, he put it down on paper like it was a computer.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's how the male mind works. And it's kind of funny because autistic minds are actually the super K minds. And the thing is, we think it's deviant. which is actually it's not. It's like it's kind of funny because I think it's like to me it looks like autism is kind of like the next stage in evolution, but the thing is like because they don't have that white matter, they get kicked out. They were killed off, and like it's kind of like the Spartans. They throw them off a cliff.
Yeah, yeah. Now there is a certain restrictions to it too. Their impulse centers don't really work.
No.
There's no link there between not the hippocampus, the frontal exterior lobe and the impulse, so they have no control, and that provides social. What's the word I'm looking for? Stress.
They can't become part of the collective. They don't blend. In other words, they don't have any control over their what I call their persona, that mask that allows you to interface with other people. They don't have control over that.
That's common with women too, in that general area that sometimes they don't have those control centers.
And part of it also it's just like
so if you
to be socialized and like that's the thing they can't. It's very hard for them to socialize when it's kind of funny.
Very hard for socializing.
Or like if you look at evolution, you look at the male mind where it's going or supposed to go. It goes towards autism in a way because the thing is like that impulse control actually inhibits us for doing great things. It does. In a way,
right? We think very much different.
It stops us from doing extremely logical actions sometimes.
Yeah, we have stop gaps in our heads, and we think Osiris. I wish Osiris was really around. He had a great way of explaining the male mind. We see things holographically instead of very flat.
Right.
We walk into a room, we perceive. It goes to the back of our optic nerves. We use that whole center in the back there where we draw a picture of what's going to happen in this situation.
Yeah.
Spatial.
We have spatial cognitives.
Yeah, we're spatially cognitive of and we draw from the hippocampus then about
and also
our experiences with all the people in the room, and then you ever notice when a woman walks into a room, she goes directly for the crowd she knows.
Yeah. I mean, also the funny thing is too, we're pattern seekers. We always look for consistency. We look for patterns, and it's kind of funny because when you tell men how to socialize, it's like you gave someone crack.
Yeah. We'll
they socialize
we'll
like
stand stand by the bar and get a beer and still keep observing because we're still looking for that perfect spot. We're not looking for somewhere where we're going to have stress or we're going to have confrontations. We're doing all those little things.
And that's the funny thing about Mgtow because Mgtow, it kind of does show us how to socialize if you think about it. Because we see patterns every day. We see the whole alpha-beta dynamics. I mean, the manipulation. And that's just like, and the thing is, like,
it's going to take a while for a lot of Mgtows to influx into Mgtow because he's standing back and he's making those direct correlations to which group he wants to be in.
Yeah, and that's that's the funny thing because I don't know, it's funny because like we get all the social knowledge, all those patterns and consistency. Then when Mgtows go out, they socialize better. I mean, because I know in Tifa's group, one of the guys is actually, he's socially acceptable, but the thing is, like, the problem is he's too good. They try to bring him down. I mean, he socializes greatly, but the thing is, like, it's like you came out of nowhere.
He's working on that 12 plus scale.
Yeah, no, it's like it's like it's like you turn on the engine. Like you basically, your whole life you never had the engine turned on, but now you turn on the engine.
Right. Okay, it's hard to stop then. Yeah.
You started it, and that's kind of why I like Mgtow because before I never really know how to socialize.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mgtow gives us we always say it. We always say Mgtow gives us a space where we can talk among men, like men. As men, and learn how to do this without that traditional tournament system going on.
Well, without that filtering system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's the socialization. It's outside the government socialization. Because we've been taught to think that we're abnormal because of the way that we relate. You can't relate that way, especially younger guys. It's not as much for older guys that basically were kids. 60s kids. The boomers don't have as much of it. But especially after 1972 when they started feminizing the whole the school system. They did it on purpose. They it wasn't Title IX wasn't really about the chicks playing sports or the colleges. They said the target was always K through 12 because they wanted a control of the Prussian school system so they could socialize boys into what they wanted them to be.
Right.
And
Mgtow is something that blows up that narrative, and boys are like, yeah, okay, yeah, we were taught that way, and that's not the way men work. I always knew it, but they always told me I was wrong.
I could be creative and use imagery.
No, it's kind of funny. It's just like Mgtow. This is the way it works. I mean, we give each other a foundation,
right?
And then after the foundation, we go our own way. We do other things. I mean, this is how men think. You have to give men the structure. You have to give them the key.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, he'll do incredible things with that key.
Yeah, it's group dynamics in here that we don't have it down to a science yet, but I think we're getting there when we norm and we form and we join and we adjourn.
Yeah. But you got to remember, but Mgtow was, I've always said that, Mgtow was not limited to the group or the people that carry the tag. It's the effect, because for every Mgtow that's out there, he's going to affect 10 guys.
Yeah, and this goes back to the point of stick-to-ity in Mgtow too. Sometimes the problem I'm dealing with now is I'm dealing with a lot of different subjects that I get thrown at me, and we have to have this stick-to-itiveness to it if you're going to choose to be a Mgtow representative or a producer, because we're going to see these reciprocal patterns over and over again.
To me, I mean, it's kind of like, to me, it kind of sounds like you did it to yourself, because like I see other groups do different things. Like my group, I mean, it's basically Tifa's group. Now that I think about it, but I'm trying to change that. And I mean, if you've seen Tifa Sniper's videos, I mean, there's a certain tone he has, but and there's a certain tone he has. And the thing is, when Nico and Nico, Barbarossa, and CS come together, there's a certain tone. And or when Mgtow moderates comes together, there's a tone. And so basically, the problem with Mgtow is basically how do we set up these tones?
Yeah, and it goes back to forming your own individual. You adjourn from the norm, and then we're left with the question of what's next. And now we're forming and we're adjourning, but we're reforming into our own personal individual groups, and we have that. Yeah. That's when I see it as a problem sometimes, when you start reforming your ideas and what men you want around you, what's acceptable to you, what tolerances you have. You start individualizing yourself, and then it gets very. You were a part of the major group. Now you're subsetting yourself off, and everybody's going, no, don't do that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because the thing is, individualism is kind of funny because there's even individualism in groups.
Yeah.
There's but the thing is, we split so much in Mgtow. It's funny because every now and then we have a schism.
Yeah, that's because we're growing. And
the thing is and I think the schism is actually healthy for us.
Oh, it is very healthy. Yeah. Just think about the guy coming in, and now he's got a choice.
Yeah, I mean, we create diversity by basically not liking a certain group mentality. It's funny.
Yeah, we're very diverse in here. We don't think about it generally in those those social justice kind of terms because we reject that.
Yeah, no,
But
it's
we're developing our own little diversity where we can.
yeah, I mean, it's the thing is like we're making diversity. We're not
Right.
forcing people to become. We're not imposing diversity.
We're not imposing
No.
diversity. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a common
organic.
acceptable fact. It's
Yeah, yeah.
organic. It's
Yeah.
ground roots. It's grassroots.
Yeah, feminism diversity, that kind of diversity is not diversity at all. It's actually homogenization. And they're not talking
It's
about
assimilation.
it's assimilation. That's what it is. And you can diversify, but you can be diverse, but you have to be diverse under these rules. In other words,
Yeah.
you're assimilating more groups.
Oh yeah. We looked at a rad film. I don't know if I know. Maybe you were around and you witnessed that rad film when they went through the what do you call that, groupthink era.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to attack that very professionally because it was destroying radfem. And we can use these, we can look out there, like you were reading that one book that you mentioned earlier, and you're reading it for an example of how you think about Mgtow. We can use feminism as an example. Their failures in what they had to work through are our gains.
Mm-hmm.
You read a book, or you read feminist ethics, or you read all these things that you have to read to be up on it. We can we can use that as good examples in what I'm seeing in Mgtow too. It doesn't have to be gynocentric in its nature.
Well, to me, the feminism, I mean, it breaks itself. It keeps breaking itself all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not being productive about what is the base, what is the foundation. Mgtow, I mean, for the most part, most Mgtows who do break off, they already have that foundation.
Yeah.
And they're being productive with it. I would like to say, like, our little groups, they innovate.
Yeah.
They're innovative. Yeah. And the thing is, like, they're not breaking themselves out. They're basically redistributing power.
We're still competing as men, the same as we'd always, because
that's
so nature.
I think it's because we're competitive that this is actually working.
Yeah. It brings out the best. Yeah,
the best.
It brings out
the best and worst.
Well, it does, but the thing is, it's natural competition because men have certain rules about competition, whereas women don't. Men will, if you're better than the next guy, say two guys go out in the back and they start fighting, and one guy wins, that the second guy will concede that guy that beat him is better than he is.
Yeah,
he will. Okay, the guy's better than me. If you look at just take for instance what's going on with Ronda Rousey and her getting beaten in the ring.
The rematch.
The thing is, she still won't admit that girl is better than she is, even though she took a horrible beating and she's actually scared of the girl. A man in a boxing match that got beat that bad who said that guy's just better than I am.
Okay, I think the difference is man will admit defeat.
Yeah.
He will admit his
limitations.
His bias.
Yeah, his secondary thinking.
I mean, he'll basically. But the thing is, like, after he admits that, he doesn't just stop. He goes right back into the flame.
Yeah, he proves himself through it.
Yeah,
and he recognizes his failures and fixes those things.
Well, I don't think it's not all failures, not all the time. I mean, look at Immortal. I mean, and your little fight. I mean, a new group was created. I mean, a little fight also, like, it kind of like got me thinking about pedophilia and pedophobia, and they're basically connected in how they relate to Mgtow. And the thing is, the theory I came up with is
I was very purposeful in what I was doing, and a lot of people don't see that.
And the thing is, what I learned is both of these are actually an extension of gynocentrism.
Mm-hmm.
Because of monotonous features. And the thing is also, like I was talking, comment on Turn Flinky Monkey's video, where basically the high-pitched voice, for some reason, I don't know why, it was turning off my cognitive ability, turning off my ability to think. And like also they just, and that's just like, and that's the funny thing. I mean, we're weak against against like
Yeah.
feminine things.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
part of it is we're selected for it.
well, yeah, you know, your mother's voice is high because high pitched tones are soothing.
Yeah,
You know, even in nature, songbirds and
Yeah.
things like that, the high pitch is soothing. But the thing is,
yeah,
a lion's roar, which is a deep bass, it means what? It means danger, it means authority.
yeah,
That's a
and
different.
that's yeah,
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
that's
Yeah.
and that's the
Yeah.
kind of funny thing with pedophilia and pedophobia. They're
It's
both, to me, they seem gynocentric in nature.
Hmm.
yeah. It's Neoteny posing its will on males.
Right.
Yeah, and
Neoteny is
because the
very
thing is like
insipid.
because the thing is like you made a lot of logical fallacies in your argument. I mean, when I was watching, I mean, you made a correlation equals causation fallacy, and like you had other things, but the thing is like, here's the thing though,
Hmm.
as Mgtow, even though yeah we fought,
Hmm.
we had this little spat, but the thing is like, look at us now. I mean, look what I just came up with, man. I mean, this is productive.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The thought on that was I had to bring it to a head somehow
Yeah,
because it was festering,
yeah.
and someone had to do it. No one was willing to do it, and
Well,
well, if
part
you
of it,
know
I
me,
think it was festering. Part of it, I think it's like, I think you were in a protective mode. I don't think like because
yeah,
like I said, you were like
I was
you were in
protecting
kind
the
of,
base, the
yeah, no,
Mgtow
no,
base.
you were protecting also your son in a way, and
Right. Well, in a
you were
way, in a
you were
fatherly.
highly emotional, and that just and that also
Well,
that kind of like affected everything.
I perceive all the young men around here as my sons,
Hmm.
and yeah, there's a lot more to it. My thought patterns and that and everything, and it was I was running a little bit on emotion too during the interview, but there was more to it. I was hedging off what could happen in the future.
Yeah.
That was the mainstay of
Well,
it.
and also at least out of the conversation we got, oh, let's just label everything. Just by everywhere.
Yeah, the labels that okay, yeah. I don't know how we can impose that or do that, or it
No,
was just a sub
we
conversation.
can't impose that, but the thing is like, I mean, but the thing is no, but the thing is people are going to search for specific topics anyways. I mean,
Yeah,
Mr. P, I
the
mean,
idea around that is just be
like the
knowledgeful
Mgtow
of.
guy who I just met was Mr. Pinkman. You know, like I became quick clenched with. I mean, he saw my anime manga and manga like podcast
Okay,
for Mgtow that I made a couple of months back. I was like, hey, here's a link. Mgtow moderates, come in and your own thing. And here's a couple other links. And basically, oh, next thing you know, I'm hosting Vault Mgtow with them. So yeah, I mean the label system thing is actually very productive, because you can
yeah,
grow contacts.
Yeah.
right, right. It's up. You're doing something individual, and you can get the confidence of the males coming in and do that thing and everything. But y- that thing is so vast that we're talking about. What's the word I was using? We're talking about modesty too.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of modesty that we want to portray
Yeah, it's kind
because
of hard. I
because
think in
that is also
Mgtow,
attractive, isn't it?
I think it's kind of hard to do it because the thing is like, is men think logically most of the time, and the thing is the problem with morality and ethics is that ethics
Well,
is it does have care morality in it. There's a certain care morality in it. There's a certain fairness in it. It's kind of like a weird between like justice mentality and care mentality.
oh
It's
yeah,
kind
care
of
ethics, yeah.
it's kind of like it infused with itself. both of
Yeah,
these
it is fused
mentalities,
with itself, and
and
men
that's
do.
and decency too has decency can also be inhibited or productivity too.
To a point, depending on,
Yeah.
it's back to the individual group thing. Then uh, where you're
Yeah.
where
I
you
mean, this
lie on
goes
that
back to
bar.
the whole tone thing I was talking about earlier. Okay, you set this tone.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about this that,
Yeah, we could talk about it now.
and labeling too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the tag Mgtow gives people that have that mindset. Um, the assurance when they come in that they're going to have people that they're at least similar minds. They don't have to be necessarily like minds, but similar.
Right, similar,
Yeah,
and it's
I mean
attractive.
because as
It's a program of
MGTOW,
attraction.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
a lot of us are not practicalists. Yeah, a lot of us are practicalists. A lot of us are logical. What is that word? Something not practicalist. Like Machiavellian. We kind of think Machiavellian. We don't.
Oh yeah, okay.
We think MGTOW thinks Machiavellian. We don't lie to ourselves. We don't lie to. We don't be like Machiavelli, where we lie to the audience. We tell the truth, raw
Mm-hmm.
and hardcore. And that's kind of the problem with ethics and decency. Ethics and decency wants to sugarcoat everything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's more like Socrates. The truth at all cost.
Yeah,
Socrates would not lie, just to lie, and he would not tell an untruth just to be popular, and he'd rather drink the poison
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and he
than
did
go
drink
along
Marcus
the
with it.
did
poison.
a very good video on that
Mm-hmm.
about Socrates and Plato, and at the end of that plate he stood up and he says, I'm just not going to accept this because everybody else is accepting this.
Exactly.
And what it was back to the pedophilia thing where they were having their boy children or whatever it was
Mm-hmm.
at that point. He said, no,
Right.
no, you guys are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So there's that other segment of thinking that we do, and Socrates was sort of right, and Plato was right, and Plato was told, and he gave the ultimate statement at the end about being that individual, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it my way, and
Yeah.
I'm right.
Yeah. And Nietzsche was another in that same vein. I'm just going to tell the truth as I see it, and I'm going to, the truth at all costs.
Yeah, Nietzsche. I mean, it's
Ooh,
funny because
Nietzsche,
Nietzsche actually, he's actually one of the founding fathers of MGTOW, according to not MGTOW. I mean, to feminism, according to Marcus, because his ideas are reused for feminism.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The tools are always, the tools are
Yeah.
always used for feminism,
And
even.
that was and that was one of the tools that was hijacked.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
because second wave feminism was built on the civil rights movement. They hijacked everything that that black folks had done for 30 years, and they just adopted it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they used
They didn't
Marxism.
build
and
anything.
that.
It's
Yeah.
like they wait for basically to see what works,
Mm-hmm.
then they hijack it and claim it's
Yeah.
originally theirs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, they tend to lean towards the Marxism end of Nietzsche, and then
Well,
they
and
go with that. Yeah,
what is it? The slave mentality, the sheep mentality, the
yeah,
preacher
Mm-hmm.
mentality.
Mm-hmm. Which in the 70s coincided with what the federal government actually wanted, because the men, the men in the baby boomer men were about to overturn the system completely, and they
Yeah.
said, oh
The
no.
men. It's not that the men were a threat to the government. The government wanted more power, and the men weren't in the government's way. But the thing is, the government didn't know how to basically do both. They couldn't find a middle ground because the thing is, government's kind of funny because a lot of the guys in government, they don't think like K's. Some of these guys, they think like R's, surprisingly.
Well, yeah, that's for the general social good as they see it. Whatever's good for the government must be good for the people.
Yeah.
If you, because like I said, it takes a lot of books, to
Yeah.
actually
I mean, to me,
Yeah.
I made that whole
Yeah.
like little hierarchy earlier with the alpha, and to me, a lot of politicians, they're alpha stigma, and what a stigma can do, basically, he can manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
He has social superiority. He's kind of like a woman, just like having control over the relationships.
Yeah, but they're just part of the management of the United States.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that sit above them, that pick them, that put them in position to actually be politicians
Yeah.
that we don't even
I mean,
see.
to me, I mean, Trump, I would consider him true alpha in a way, because the thing is, like, it's not because I like Trump. I think sometimes he can be an idiot, but the thing
Mhm.
is, like, the evidence points Trump towards a true alpha, and you could see basically there was a group mentality anti-Trump,
Mhm.
because a lot of these guys, they were pretty much ours. They were thinking ours, like, oh, there's like, hey, we gotta undermine him, we gotta undermine him, we gotta indirectly undermine him.
Yeah, well. Trump is betraying the order.
Yes.
Because there's a certain order.
He's
He's
basically he's using alpha smash.
the thing is, there's supposed to be, those kind of people like Trump that aren't supposed to come down into politics like that. Because and especially coming down into politics and actually telling all the secrets. There's a lot of people that don't like that.
Well, he
That's
broke one of the Machiavellian rules, which is
Mhm.
basically one of the things: look good, always look just, always look good to the population, always lie to the population. And he breaks that, but the thing is, the problem is the population is tired of all the Machiavellian BS.
Yeah.
So basically, they might have to. I mean, at a certain point in time, I mean, the Machiavellian tactics are going to be kind of useless. You're going
Right.
to have people who are going to actually have to be honest. They're
Right.
going to have to be.
There's a lot of fatigue in society now. False flag fatigue, and
Yeah.
everybody's
I mean, to
asking
me,
questions now.
that's post Machiavellianism. It's like the point where you don't have to lie anymore. You can just say the truth.
Mhm.
Yeah, the truth is
You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to manipulate people. You don't have to. I mean, you're probably still going to have to use violence as a means to an end. The thing is, like, no, it's a lot of this R thinking that's going to have to die with Machiavellianism, and that's what I see as post Machiavelli. It has to be basically a structure that's just honest. It's like you can be a practicalist. You could say some pretty you could say the truth and be elected and get into power.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Hitler did it. It's naked power works to a point. As long as it serves the people, they'll follow you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a great term. Did you read that book?
What, the Prince by Machiavelli? Yeah.
No, you used the term naked power.
Oh well, yeah. Well, there's three ways to get people to do something. It's persuasion, which is basically politics. Wealth, which is business in the economy, and the last one, which is the most harsh and probably the most effective but limited, is force.
Yeah.
You put a gun to their head and you make them do it.
There's actually. Was that 4?
There's 3. There's only 3. The
No,
first two
because I know
are soft power.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, because the end of power says there's 4, and that was a recent book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but classically there's only 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it says. Well, there's one more. There's one more.
What's the other one?
It's another soft power, but the thing is, it's culture, controlling of culture.
Well, that's socialization. That's soft power. That's number 1. Persuasion. Reward
there's
is
muscle. There's
Well,
persuasion, and then there's culture.
Well, culture is persuasion. It's that's
no, culture is socialization. It's culture and persuasion are different things.
You're basically you're persuading an individual to do something through social pressure.
The individual is adapting to his social environment. He's not persuaded. The thing is, like, he thinks he's adapting to the social. He's being socialized, and these are two different things. Persuasion is basically like, okay, I'm going to give you 200 caps for a gun. Are you? And basically, I'm gonna poke at you. I'm gonna say nice things. I'm gonna beat your ego up and down, and then you're gonna pay the 200 caps for the gun.
Well, anybody, and Joe,
But the
you
thing
can
is,
chime.
culture indoctrinates you.
Well, culture,
Indoctrinates you to think a certain way.
Right.
culture uses all three of them. But the thing is, Joe, anybody that has children,
No, but
Joe,
the thing is, you don't have to persuade a child to know culture.
yes,
You have to indoctrinate
no,
a
anybody.
child.
Anybody that has children, and Joe can tell you, anybody has children, there's only three ways to get that child to do something.
Yeah.
It's you either talk to him and persuade him, like okay,
Persuade him.
if you do this, do this. I'll compromise with you. If you do this, you'll get if you
bribe
do
him.
this,
Well, culture is
let me finish. Let me finish. Or you bribe them. Okay, if you do this, I'll reward you with something. Or the last one is, if you don't do it, I'm going to get the belt, the switch, or whatever, and I'm going to force you to do it. There's only three ways, but culture encompasses all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great movie
You know what?
I was going to bring up.
Okay. I'm going to use Confucianism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Confucianism is basically it's a mentality,
Mm-hmm.
and basically it's like no matter how much you try to break the mentality, you follow it anyways because it becomes habit,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and that's culture. It's social habit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier with the repetitism. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's why it's the fourth one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's
that's kind of centrism, isn't it?
well, the culture
from our perspective.
Well, culture,
it's culture.
culture encompasses all of them. That's the whole thing. Culture is that in totality. But the thing is, the use of methods to get people to do something falls into those three basic categories. Because
Okay.
if you put them in school, if you put them in school, even a teacher is the subtle art of persuasion.
Yeah.
You know,
But here's the thing.
huh?
Okay, what if you change settings? Like, okay, let's say I have a
Mhm.
class from United
Mhm.
States, I have a class from Europe, I have a class from China. Put them side by each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're all going to have different cultures. They're going to all have their own vibe to them.
Right.
They're going to have all their own norms to them.
Right.
And the thing is, and it's these norms that can affect their ability.
Right. I was going to bring up a movie
Past.
that kind of goes through this pattern very well, and it was Captain Phillips. Did you watch it?
No,
bit,
I have not seen it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, and also, and like, this is kind of why it's different because, like, because I was watching a Chinese kid. They were doing like a little thing where, like, the Japanese kids,
Mm-hmm.
basically they were given a hard test,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave the American kids a hard test, the same test. Now, what the American kids did, they gave up, but the
Mhm.
Japanese kids kept going and going and going. They still tried, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, it's like they had to actually stop them, and say, "Hey, you stop." But and that's the thing, and the thing is, like, in Japanese culture,
Right.
you're supposed to put more effort into everything,
Mm-hmm.
and where in American culture, it's like, no, you don't have to put as much effort into everything. I mean, if you don't do it, get it right the first time, give up.
Well,
And that's how
Mhm.
culture influences you. It's very subtle. It does influence you.
It can be subtle and it can be harsh because if you live in an authoritarian government, then it's very harsh. You know, if you don't, say if you live in Saudi Arabia, you know,
Yeah.
how
No,
do you feel?
it's mentality versus basically because the thing is, like, all those other ones are direct. You're directly persuading someone. You're directly putting a gun next to someone's head. You're directly telling someone, "I'll give you this reward."
Yeah, well,
And see, culture is indirect. Because the thing is, you don't have to do anything. It does it by itself.
well, the thing is, it doesn't. It doesn't do it. Well, the thing is, and I've done about what I don't know how many videos on culture. Culture is the direct interface between two things. It's between the biology of the person, the biology of the entity of the human being, and its environment. And the interaction between the biology of that person, the way the person actually is, is set up genetically, and its environment. That's where the culture is the interface. It comes.
Okay.
Those two processes create culture. Okay, if I my culture is going to
Culture is organic.
well, let me
All these other things are not organic.
well, let me finish. Well, I mean, it's not. It's actually not organic. I mean, it's organic. It's organic because of the process between the two of the things. That's what makes it unique. If I live in the North Pole, and somebody else lives in Central America, our cultures are going to be different because our environments are different.
Okay.
So even though the basic human being might be the same, what I have to do to survive in the North Pole is different from what I have to do to survive in Central America. So my culture is going to develop between those two interactions. I still need to eat. I still need to keep warm because my body temperature is not any different than the Eskimo. It's the same thing. So the thing is, I got to, if I'm going to survive, my culture says I have to put on more clothing. I have to build my structures differently because of the materials that I have around me. So my environment is going to dictate what my culture is going to be.
Yeah, you have to have a different. It's the mentality goes with the culture.
Right. Exactly. Well, the mentality is the culture. The mentality the mentality is the culture. The thing is, your feelings, your feelings and your reaction amongst human beings are basically the same. I mean, there's varying differences, but they're basically the same. But the thing is, your environment and then your social heritage, which is your culture, the way you were taught to survive, is what makes up culture. What are the processes that we use so we can survive in a certain environment and enhance the environment? Like it's become now the way we look at it, because I think I did that with Mgtow culture and I think is in evolution basically, where now we get into an urban setting. That's what the Industrial Revolution actually did. That's why I harp on that. The Industrial Revolution allowed us to build an artificial environment that is completely changing what our culture would normally progress as.
Yeah, that was the Romanticism. And we went through all this with the discussions a few years ago with the cultural Marxism. And we in Mgtow look at it very differently than the schools look at it, and society looks at it. We see it as a bad thing. They see it as a good thing. So we got these two ends pushing against each other. But I think you were absolutely right with that artificial environment, because we've done that with Romanticism after Victorian age.
Yeah. Do you guys ever watch those Survivor series where they put a group of people on an island and without any tools? And then watch how the culture of that group starts to change according to their environment. Yeah. Where even women, they were afraid of spiders and couldn't kill anything. They all of a sudden, if I want to survive, I got to change the way I think. Yeah, and some people actually could not do it, huh?
It becomes very Mgtow in a way, and some of them it worked out the real Mgtow. Shining did a few of them where he pointed out at the end how Mgtow, because the women in them situations learned how to barter correctly, take accountability correctly, and do responsibility correctly. And that became normal within that small microcosm of the society.
Exactly.
Okay.
And feminism, without the Industrial Revolution, feminism could not survive. Absolutely could not survive.
I think we all know that we are our own worst enemies when we start giving women the new washing machine and the new the more we do those things for them, the more ease it will provide in their lives to have this sort of entitlement that we see as wrong.
Yeah, but the washing machine, the microwave, the cooking, even if you think about it, YouTube.
And
what do with YouTube? Will help men replace women, because the thing is, it used to be that cooking as a culture was passed down from mother to daughter. And men where it was men were clueless about how to feed themselves because that wasn't passed down. How to build something, how to provide was a culture that was passed down from father to son. But the thing is, something like YouTube changes all that, because if you want to know how to feed yourself, you don't have to go to a woman or it be passed down. You can find a recipe or something that you want to make, and you can get 15 different recipes all over the world with pictures on how to actually feed yourself.
Oh
So the
yeah,
thing is,
that provides for peak happiness too.
yeah, yeah. And it removes like 90% of the need for what you have for a woman. The only thing you really need a woman for nowadays, basically, is sex and procreation. The other things with this modern society, you don't really need her. What do you need her for?
You don't really need her. Yeah.
You don't need her.
Anime Indian, you said, you gave a great example of that when you hit college there, and oh God, all of a sudden I got to do these things, and I have to learn all these little things for myself, how to cook.
I already know how to cook. I already know how to clean.
Yeah.
I already know how to do all these things. But the thing is, I just did them as chores.
You did them as chores, yeah. Now you're really doing them for yourself in the applied
Yeah,
application.
no, it's just
beneficial.
It's a necessity.
Now you can take that little thing and you can improve on it and say, hey man, I like starch shirts, and that makes me feel good about myself. It provides a little more peak happiness. I can cook for myself, and we learn these things in the army, in college. We go away to these structured programs that take the place of.
I still think you could have learned how to cook, even though.
Yeah, if you're provided the right situation. If your father.
I know there was a lot of male chefs back before the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just to me it seems like it wasn't the norm to cook for yourself.
Me and Joe are about approximately the same age, and we came up to the point where there was a strict division of labor that as a boy, you weren't really taught to cook because that was not supposed to be your role. It wasn't part of your chores. Now that evolved later on when feminists came in and feminists wanted to move into a male sphere. You still those other things still need to be provided for children and for the home.
Okay, but let's say a more patriarchal side. So if you wanted to become a chef, would you be stigmatized, basically?
Even a chef is basically a provider, because what is he going to do with it? He's not cooking at home.
No, he's cooking for people. Yeah.
He's cooking for people. In other words, he's making a business. He's earning money from cooking. Even my father. My father, he was a short order chef when we first came out to California. He was a short order chef, and he cooked for a living, even though he never cooked at home, because my mother provided the cooking at home. So
I think
the way she cooked for family and the way you cook for
right. The female perception is very different of chef. They think it's cooking for the family, and everybody gives them that false accolades of, oh, you're such a good chef. But what she's really doing is cooking for the family, because that's her free time during the day.
Well, I think it's her obligation, and if she doesn't cook, she'll basically out the door.
Well, yeah, basically, yeah, that's very true.
Well, that's a prerequisite of what you're looking for too,
Yeah. And that's actually kind of one of the funny things about patriarch. When we had a patriarch, women are also somewhat utilities too.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, that's because you're going to work for 10 to 12 hours, and
it's mostly domestic work, but still.
It's necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, we still selected for practicality. We both selected for utility.
Well, when before the Industrial Revolution actually hit its peak, it was absolutely necessary, man. If you were out there slaving on a farm, man, and for 14 hours, you needed somebody to cook. You needed somebody to clean. You needed somebody to basically, a woman was cook, cleaner, and she was a baby factory, because you needed all three things to prosper on a farm, because two people on a farm will die. You need that woman to have children, as many as she can to actually.
She needs to be productive.
She needs to be productive.
She needs to be productive and responsible. Yeah.
Yeah.
We how much did we supplement her responsibility there over the years?
Right.
Our industrial revolution was supplementing the female's complaining and whining about having to actually cook.
Right. And you know, in the industrial revolution, they found out that a lot of men didn't need females anymore. And when they came over here, they're working in the factories, and since the urban settings, there were places to actually eat and feed themselves. They didn't need any women anymore. So there was a lot of women on the street.
In the 50s, the Bachelor Revolution, and they put a cap on that by
they did.
the male housing.
Yeah, they had the thing is you have to put a constraint on men. That's what the feminist revolution was. Okay, you can't force men. You can't force a constraint on men. There's only so much you can actually bribe men with wealth. So the thing is, you got to go back down to the third one, which is persuasion or socialization. It takes a lot longer to do, but the thing is if you do it, it will have a longer lasting effect. So
basically, what you're saying is you can't do the direct tactic. You have to
have to be indirect. Yeah.
Oh, right. That's what they did. I like to look at the destruction of the boarding houses and the why.
Right.
Because the men used to go to those places, and they were just landing spots, and it made it easy on men. They can keep their job, do their bachelor lifestyle, and the government just destroyed the boarding houses and the tenements and the why, which men used to use.
I'm kind of curious why you would basically. I'm still amazed why the government, basically all these productive bachelors, why they basically tried to put a cap on them. It's like, hey, these guys, they can make a lot more money for you.
Yeah.
If you leave them
alone. It would be a self-interest thing, but they don't look at it because it was threatening their traditionalism. It was threatening everything they believe in.
Okay, young men carry arms. Okay, there is no revolution. Women do not start a revolution, or they carry out a revolution. It's always
there's only one generation that can overthrow the government too.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you look at demographics, I did a real hard study with demographics. Anytime there's a revolution,
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Oh yeah. Anytime you have a revolution, there's a big explosion of male children. There's a big population of males.
That is. That's very interesting too.
And they carry arms. Men carry out revolution. So if a government is afraid of revolution, first thing they have to do is get control of the boys. They have to get control of the men, because the men can and will overthrow a government if they're displeased.
Right.
So and that's what happened. The largest population of males ever born in the United States was the baby boomers. And that's why you can I've done it within my Humanized America series. Go ahead.
So basically what the government did is, because they feared the baby boomers, they brought feminism.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
They did.
Well, it's not that they brought feminism. They
financed it.
They financed it.
They made it. They basically expanded feminism.
No, it's not even conspiracy theory. They actually, like I said, if you read more than Title IX, and that's what piqued me to the game. Yeah. I read more than Title IX, and I said, the woman that started second wave feminism and started this stuff in 1968. She didn't know what she wanted. She went to a government politician, and he says, "We've been waiting for somebody like you."
Yeah, they were.
They were waiting for it. Because for them to impose it would have been too obvious. But for women to actually start it and use them as cover, gave them the end to do it. And it took in a matter of, if you look at it between 1968 and 1972, you had legitimization of babies out of wedlock. You had no fault divorce. You had the family planning, federal government financed the family planning. You had Title IX, which is basically the socialization of females and males in school. You had all these processes. You had all these things passed within a span of 4 years. You cannot do that organically. That has to be planned. In my opinion, that's my opinion.
You're right about that. Yeah. Is Mgtow just an extension of the way males were feeling back in the 50s and 60s?
I mean, to me, we are a revolution. I mean, just by Eli's definition.
Yeah, we got hijacked, but
You got hijacked.
you know,
Yeah.
but the male mind and the male cognitive is still going to pursue that
Yeah.
Mgtow.
Exactly.
It sounds like to me men are unstoppable.
Well, the thing is,
It's like inevitably, if something is too good or like it benefits too much or like it's too amazing, it's going to be inevitable because men will keep pursuing it.
Yeah.
how do you force males, or men, or males that have been working basically the same way for 100,000 years into doing something that they are not organically situated to do? How do you turn men into girls? You know what I'm saying? How do you turn men into girls? You can't. Not socially, because they're not wired for that. And eventually, that's going to get overturned because your internal biology said this is not right. This is not, and that's what Mgtow is about. Like I said, a lot of people like me and Joe, we've been Mgtow for a long time. The thing is, now we have the ability to connect with each other and say, yeah, I felt the same way. I've always felt that way. It'll just like you've always felt that way. It's just like there's other guys out there that feel that way. And what the school has been telling me that this is unnatural. It's not unnatural. It's very common, and it's very common amongst men, and that's why it's so powerful because it's actually men taking back their masculinity. Basically, I am not a servant to a female.
Yeah, the first way they do that is they start censoring the way we perceive our masculinity as boys.
Right. Yes.
And they start
demonizing our masculinity.
Demonizing everything. Yeah, try to get that social Marxism into us.
Yeah.
Program us. But we still feel it. The first time you see it, it's like if you never ate an ice cream sandwich, it doesn't mean the first time you see one you're not going to go, ooh, yeah, that's what I want.
That's very true. That's how come there's such an aversion to allowing single-sex education. They know that if half the stuff could be cleaned up in urban ghettos and amongst black males if they just separated the sexes. If they taught boys separately and allow boys to learn as males. They've already shown that the graduation rates
basically the ghetto would dissolve.
It would dissolve, yeah.
It would dissolve, right? Yeah.
But the thing is,
we can make a whole new culture. That's what I often stress, that we become the system.
We become America 2.0.
Yes.
We become a new system, and
we become the ideal America. But the thing is, like, part of it is it's just like it's fear of men.
Yeah, well, it is fear of men. If you let black males do it, and they found and white males find out how successful that program actually is, who's going to clamor for it? White males are going to clamor for the same thing. Is in control of the white male is what this is all about. Black males are just an afterthought. Okay, we have to contain them because
it's the same thing with Indians.
Yeah,
we're marginalized.
Marginalized, yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, they blew up. The American Indians are a great example of what happens when you destroy somebody's culture.
Yes, and that's the thing. That's what boarding schools. The thing is, I think the boarding schools. I think basically they're the proto-black schools.
Yeah, they are.
With you.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's because the thing is the similarities are just too good.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, and basically, before the ghetto started growing, they had regular schooling. A lot of black families had regular schooling, but a lot of Indian families had the boarding school style education, and that basically made us dysfunctional for many generations.
Yeah,
and it's still affecting us to this day. And then they try to reintroduce it into the black ghettos. It looks like the evidence is there. There's definitely a correlation there.
Yeah, American Indians were the first group to be under forced assimilation. Right. Yeah, and then they used that they use that to basically assimilate black folks in the '60s. Okay, if we force them, if we bus them to white schools and we force them to into a white socialization process, then over time the black identity will disappear, and that's what they want to get rid of. They want to get rid of the black identity.
It's kind of funny. It's because it's like the way they manipulate the black community is like they had a reward. It's like
right,
and basically they were just like, okay, here, jump through this hoop, jump through that hoop, jump through that hoop, and you never got the reward.
Well, you know, like I said, you know, on my other channel, I'm going to start doing breaking down the Monahan report, because that's the model of black assimilation. Because what Johnson wanted to find out, what happened is that okay, that problem had festered for like 100 years. What do we do with the black identity? What do we do with the black collective? You know, even going way back to President Monroe in 1822. Okay, because they knew this was going to be
the question: how do you control men? I mean, that's a question Machiavelli tried to ask himself.
Exactly.
How do you keep power?
How do you keep
the
power?
oldest question.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we know how to control men through their sexual impulses and and natural.
It's kind of like the Indians and the black community, like the Mexican community. They were all just experiments.
Yes.
In general, and the thing is, like, it's funny because, like, it's part of it also is just like environment too. I mean, part of it. I mean, it seems like basically, it's like a bunch of things are just like, it's kind of like a tragedy happening.
Yeah, and
it's like it's no one's fault. It's naturally happening.
You look at the World War II and the marketing of World War II for the soldier, and you give him that picture of him landing on the dock and the woman's still waiting for him, and they meet and they kiss, and it's romanticism, and you build that idea of romanticism in the soldier's head that when he comes home, that's going to be, you know,
waiting for him.
That American dream is going to be waiting for him, but you know it gets pulled out from under your feet. We see now with the Afghanistan soldiers.
And also Mgtow too. We're kind of a thorn in that whole entire, like, how do you control men? Okay,
exactly.
Mgtow happened.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
Oh, God damn it! It's kind of like every time basically you think you control us, you think you got us. We do something new.
Yeah, we see it. We see these things. We're very intelligent. The average,
it's funny.
The average male does 2.5 million syllogisms in his head. You know.
The difference is that the spread is different, because the spread is at the speed of light.
Yeah.
Before you'd have to actually meet up face to face, and it was localized, and you could control it, you could stamp it out. But now it's the speed of light.
Extremely. I mean, the thing is, like, the reason why we survive, the reason why there's so many of us, is because men in general are just extremely adaptive to our environment. And the thing is, like, look at Mgtow. I mean, we're pretty much the new caves. If you think
we're not falling for that lie anymore, that carrot on the stick of the American dream.
I mean,
and that's where it begins. We know it's
well,
they don't even sell us a dream anymore.
I was talking about after the chat yesterday. The thing is, when the collapse happens, when basically the economy busts, I mean, there's always a fear, the question that Mgtow will still be around, but the thing is, we won't be like this. Or like we have a bunch of single males. I mean, I think there would be a group, but the thing is, like, he fears that a lot of us will go back to the plantation.
If you've done the work like I have, a collapse means a dark age, because the system is stacked so high on a lot of different processes. It's like a finely tuned machine.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because, like, we might snap back. We might actually go back to the patriarchy, go back to the plantation, not by our own free will. Biology might force us to do it.
Well, the thing is, you're going to go back to Paleolithic, because there's never been a worldwide civilization like this before. You know, this is the first time in history where we're all interconnected like that. So if you get a systemic collapse, you know, this system has allowed us to have 7 billion people, and it wouldn't exist without this very intricate, delicate system.
It's kind of funny because, like, I mean, I talk about the collapse a lot. I mean, I'm sure it's Mgtow too.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, like, it's like there's a hard clap and then there's a soft collapse.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a soft collapse. No.
Well,
I've studied this for like 10 years. There's no such thing.
How about this? The Great Depression. It's an economic recession, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I consider a soft collapse. Now, a hard collapse is total. It devolves into a total, or it evolves into a total anarchy.
Okay. Yeah, there's different perceptions in Mgtow.
And this is the part where basically countries separate against new countries are made. And the thing is, it's kind of like the Roman Empire was breaking off and turned into several different kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically that's a hard collapse.
Well, you know, okay, if I can, you know, take a couple of minutes and explain it. Okay, this system is almost completely artificial. You know, the way you get your food, you know, because there's only, you know, like only maybe 1 in 10, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, because I'm not as versed on this as some other people.
No,
only maybe
one Bosch project with the fertilization, we have the ability to do this.
Yeah, but I'm saying only 1 in maybe 10,000 people actually grow their own food, food. You know, in other words, you know, whereas before the Industrial Revolution, 20, you know, everybody knew how to grow their own food to some degree.
Yeah.
You know, in other words, you were able to provide yourself with the means of support and survival locally. That has disappeared. Everything is interconnected. Everything is artificial. And under the old system, less than 1 billion people could survive on that particular system. But the thing is, with the Industrial Revolution and the interconnection of this civilization, you allow this great number to grow. If that were to collapse, even a soft collapse, it'll become systemic. You know, in other words, if in electricity, if one circuit overloads, a complex circuit overloads in one spot, it takes out the whole system.
Yeah,
it doesn't. There's no spot. There's no such thing as soft collapse.
Okay, so basically you're saying because we're so interconnected, since we're so globalized, we're gonna have a hard collapse.
You're gonna have if any collapse. There's no such thing as a soft collapse because the ability for individuals to survive on their own has been taken away because now we are basically integrated into the whole system. It's like one circuit. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, that was like the rice, the soy production in Argentina has a lot to do with the auto industry in Britain. You know.
Yeah.
Everything's interconnected within the ideas of comparative economics and comparative advantage and ultimate advantage and all those things, which we really don't want to get into. But yeah, the whole system is connected in that way. So what is going to be that domino is what we're asking ourselves that's going to start the whole domino effect.
Well, feminism was already that domino effect, but the thing is, like, the petrol, I mean, a lot of us, I think we theorize it's going to be fiat currency. But the problem is, like, it's when we hit that 7th stage of money, when we hit that 7th stage of empire, that's when, that's basically, that's it. That's it. I mean, the thing is, I don't think it's going to be multiple triggers or multiple. I mean, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of different things at once.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's why they protect the modern currency the way they do.
Yeah, because the
that's inclusive of women. Not the women aren't really doing. They're doing lighter than air work, but they're also enjoying the modern currency in a non-productive way.
Yeah. Well, in other words, the manufacturing base is not necessary. The women in China actually do work. You know, they don't sit in an air conditioned office and do data entry basically, which is what most women actually do.
That's interesting about feminism because the feminism excludes the working women in, say, that are making clothes in Malaysia.
Right.
They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the infrastructure and how when the Warsaw mills left America and they became the Malaysian mills, and feminism was at such a heart of that whole process when the textile mills collapsed in America.
Right.
That was because women were employed 80%, and they didn't want to do that physical labor, so they employed the government and unions to overstress the situation,
So
and those
basically,
companies just left.
they weren't distracted. Basically, they weren't distracted anymore. They weren't productive because they were forced to be productive.
They want the gains from the lighter than air work we do in America.
Yeah.
But the Malaysian girls doing it over there, so they throw the Malaysian women under the bus.
Exactly.
And then they don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, or the women in China that help put together your iPhone, that work 14 hours a day under harsh conditions.
Yeah, they want that. They want that system built, but they also want the Western, these women. Oh God, which is the young model that they just put up, and they want her to do a lighter than air work where she's the boss, and then benefit from that whole system. And that's feminism in a nutshell.
Well, it's kind of like Red Pill Chemist said. It's kind of like this duality. Feminism is kind of like this duality between women have to be masculine, then women have to be feminine, and it's this whole like little thing where like basically women are trapped by feminism where they can't be feminine, or they have to be masculine and they don't know what they want.
Yeah,
it's causing dysfunction.
Yeah, they want the protection of men, but the independence of men at the same time.
Right, that's penis envy. God.
Yeah, penis envy.
Yeah, that's so. You try to talk to a feminist about that will set them off every time because they can see the correlations between their envy and men.
I know. And,
it's not really penis envy.
My socialist professor is like, I hate Freud. I think.
Yeah. Well, they're just it's their way of. Men have a certain way of leaving the mother and going to the father, and then they go out into society. The father teaches them how to be productive. Women do that too. They go from the mother, and then they envy the father, and then they go out in the world to become productive. It works the same way for both sexes. But at the feminism, it wants to keep that mother thing happening forever, and that's what we see with emasculated boys now.
Yes, exactly.
They never get up. Well, I hate to say it, they never get off the tit, and there's no father there to that rite of
passage. They don't actually even suck on the real tit, anyways. That's the real tragedy.
Yeah,
Somebody explains it perfectly with women how it's supposed to work with the father.
Yeah, if you don't tamp the boys down, then the girls can't rise because they're not built to compete in this arena. If you don't tamp the boys down, then like what was that story that somebody was it turf flinging monkey? I'm not sure, but they were talking about Legos, where this teacher didn't allow boys.
Yeah, it was turf flinging monkey.
Well, they didn't allow boys to do. This teacher didn't allow the boys to play with Legos because she wanted to give the girls the advantage, and she knew that boys are naturally inclined to be better at it.
Yeah, and she got it, and they're all girly color and everything, but yet the boys still wanted to play with the Legos, and the girls weren't interested.
Laugh out loud feminism.
Yeah, and the thing is, the girls they just wanted to play house.
Yeah. The girls want to play house, and that's the way things naturally should feel for them. But I don't.
It's funny because it's look like they start young.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, that's that. And the thing is that it, over 40 years it has actually worked. They have actually not completely, but really re-socialized males.
Yes, we do.
In other words, beta males didn't just happen. Beta males were created.
They were created. Yeah.
They're created.
I'll say that about Mgtow too. I didn't. When I was a kid, I didn't say to myself, "I'm going to grow up to be a Mgtow, a Mgtow producer." No, that was the farthest thing from my mind. They created me in this system. They made me, and now they want to complain about what they made.
Well,
Okay.
then you were. I mean, you were Mgtow was an unexpected reaction. You know,
Yes.
No.
they can deal with the PUAs. You know, I always said that they can deal with the PUAs. They can deal with the MRAs, but the Mgtows, they have no clue to how to deal with Mgtows.
No,
None.
because it was a rational reaction to the climate.
Yeah, we don't sign on to this. We don't want to participate in this. And there's no way to bribe men into participating into something they don't want. You can't do it with
Well,
sex. Can't do it with money.
I think there is a way to basically deal with the Mgtow problem from a government perspective. But the thing is, like, they don't want to do it. It's like we have to go back to patriarchy. We have to we have to let men do their own thing. And the thing is, that to the government, I think that means defeat.
Well, the thing is now
egalitarians.
Yeah.
If,
I mean,
if,
and that's how you would get rid of Mgtow.
Well, I don't think you can anymore because the thing is, you had to socially. You took 10,000 years to socialize men into a patriarchy to where they're protected providers. It took 10,000 years to do that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, now you've broken that, and now for 50 years you shown men that what you're doing, you actually a plow horse for society. Men saying like, okay, the Mgtow men said, okay, now this is broken. What do I do? And they said, okay, this is a different avenue for me to live my life. And they said, wait, I don't have to go back to that.
I don't have to go back to that. Yeah,
I don't have to go back to that. And that's the problem that they're having. There's nothing you can get people back into. Once the horse is free.
Yeah, you took a boy to France and you want him to come back?
No, yeah. He's not. I mean, most men don't want to go back to that. I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids.
I know most men don't.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like you said, environment will change us.
Yes. Yeah.
And the thing is, and that's the thing about the collapse. Will the collapse change Mgtow as a whole? I mean, the thing is.
Yeah, and
there won't be any Mgtow, because
there won't be a need for a Mgtow.
The thing is, you're going to be worried about your neighbor shooting you in the head for food. You're not worried about Mgtow.
It's actually kind of funny you say that because the thing is, that's kind of why I did the Mgtow Doomsday Preppers is because, okay, you know what? And then clouds men are fucked. Well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set up rendezvous points in every state, and we're going to make a Mgtow settlement. Who's with me?
It's not gonna, well, the thing is, there's too many people on Earth for it to actually happen, and most of us don't have the skills. Very few people have the skills to actually survive. Joe might be able to do it, but very few people have the.
The only thing I don't have is I don't know what herbal medicine would work. Basically, so if I really get shot, what kind of plant would I use to help me? Other than just wrapping my arm in cloth.
Sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're probably close. You probably retain some of your native culture. So in this land, you probably you guys are probably the only people that actually probably would be able to survive.
I wouldn't say that. I would disagree because a lot of people. I mean, we're like getting other men. We're affected by the industrialization.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of and also our culture has been broken down.
Okay.
Was that a lot of cultural myth too?
Yeah. No. Yeah, it is kind of a cultural myth. I mean, a lot of natives they don't know how to throw a tomahawk. A lot of natives don't know how to shoot a bow. And the thing is, I know this.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, it's just because it's not necessary anymore. You don't have to know how to throw. I mean, you don't have to shoot a bow or throw a tomahawk, throw a knife. I mean, the thing is, if you want to learn that, okay, you can learn that. And that's kind of like me. That's kind of like why I got into. Is I want to know how to shoot a bow. I want to know how to use a tomahawk. I mean, and the thing is, I do have a tomahawk. The thing is, I do it because it's I know there's a collapse coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, that's kind of like why I bought the bow too. It's okay, you know what? I can basically I don't need a gun. I can shoot the guy 300 feet. I can shoot a guy with a gun 300 feet away.
Right.
With an arrow.
Yeah.
And be stealthy about it because things he won't hear the gunshot.
Right. We were just talking about those little what is it? The things with the bolts, the little
Yeah, no, the bolt heads, the bore heads.
Yeah, they're just little self-cocking, arrows. We were just talking about though how useful that will be when the collapse comes.
And
Yeah.
that's only a temporary solution because
Yeah.
because like I said the old the going back to the old system means less than 1 billion people because
Yeah.
you don't have factory farms, you don't have factory food production like you have.
Yeah, GSOs
Yeah.
and Monsanto are going to be the first to fold
Yeah,
because the
yeah,
money it takes to run those will
yes,
dry up.
Yeah,
yeah.
and this is, but actually, you know what? The corn, the genetically modified corn, will still exist.
Yeah,
It'll exist, but the thing is, where do you get the fuel for the tractors to
for
actually
one
spread the stuff?
generation it'll exist.
No,
Not
no,
even that.
no.
Not even that long. Not even
It's
that long.
designed to die out after it's designed to use
I
these.
don't know. I mean, some crops are not genetically modified crops are not, or actually can thrive better,
Yeah.
and there actually might be mutated ones with the normal bred, with thoroughbred.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be interesting to
So
see.
basically, in that one generation, you can pollinate some of the other corn that's not GMO, and see, well, like GMO actually might adapt
Right.
into the environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, life will adapt.
Well, what's the biggest revolution in agriculture in the history of the world? Petroleum. Petroleum.
It's no, it's I thought it was
Petroleum.
crop
I
rotation.
would
No,
say
no,
Haber
no,
Bosch.
no. Petroleum. Petroleum is the biggest revolution in agriculture. So it allows what it took hundreds and thousands of people, hundreds of people to actually do on a farm. It takes one person now.
Yeah, yeah. Petroleum is definitely
But
it fuels
it's the
the
biggest
industrial
revolution.
revolution.
Yeah, you wouldn't have, the industrial revolution affected everything from top to bottom, even in food production, because you
Yeah.
could without energy you couldn't have these big farms. You couldn't have a farmer now is what, one guy, maybe two or three guys, unless it's a
Yeah.
specialty crop where it's
Right.
where
The
you have
argument would
yeah.
be where the fertilizers ran out, the natural nitrogen fertilizers, the backguanos and everything. We ran out of that.
Yeah, well, you're gonna run out of that. But the thing is, to actually
Manufacturing the nitrogens.
how do you plow the land in the first place? Because I was in Central America for like 3 months, and I was right next to a farm, right? And
Actually,
plowing
that's
the
actually a good
land,
question.
plowing the land is extremely labor intensive because I have
It sure is.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
extremely labor intensive.
labor intensive because I have a group, a black group where they're doing small farm groups, and so the biggest impediment to them growing is they don't have tractors because
Right.
a tractor takes the place. A tractor can one person on a tractor can do what 100 people can do in several days. He can do that in 20 minutes. It's like digging a hole for a little artificial lake. A tractor can do that in an hour. It would take a group of men weeks to do that.
Yeah,
So-
that was the Reaper out of McCormick in Chicago. Started the Reaper and the Harvester.
Right.
And I worked I worked making farm plows for 6 years, so I know how
So
labor-intensive
basically,
that is.
as soon as a hard collapse comes, all this technology is just going to go out the
It's
door.
toast. Yeah, it's toast.
Yeah.
Because the driver of it is energy. The only savior to this, because
Would be free energy.
well, it's free energy because you need two things there's two things that are the lifeblood of this civilization is water
Yeah.
and energy. If you have water and energy, you can basically do everything else.
Yeah. And usually in the old energy was manpower.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is limited, or horse, or animals once you draft animals once you train them,
Horsepower.
or oxen, or which is still done to some extent. But the thing is, that's still extremely labor intensive.
Yeah. Where the plow meets the field is still going to be the question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, after a collapse, I mean, there might be few of us still left.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, like, I'm just like, I kind of wanted to talk about this in Mgtow, but the thing is, like, I think it's the duty of those men to basically put Mgtow knowledge into a book and spread it. Because the thing is, like, Because the thing is, like, Mgtow is revolutionary because we tell the truth
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
about everything. So imagine what, like, basically, if Mgtow knowledge was mass,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this brings
how
up
would
a
that
great
change
question.
society?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it would change society. But the thing is, Mgtow is a child of.
No, but the thing is, like, feminism might not even rise again.
Well,
Uh,
do you ever notice the uptake in dating profiles and sites for farmers now? Yeah. Do you
that's
ever
true.
think why the government finances these things?
I
Yeah.
would think they would.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because that's
but the thing is,
the
like,
men they
I
need.
would think they would because the thing is, like, oh yeah, we need more people doing running these machines, and part of it is to I wish I could talk to Magnus, 'cause he probably would probably know a little bit more, because he lived in a very rural area.
Yeah, farmers.com and all that
Yeah.
stuff. You know,
Yeah.
you see
You,
those
you,
commercials like being saturated on the internet and being
mhm.
saturated on TV, and then you think the first thing I say to myself is, why are they targeting farmers?
Well, we want to encourage that knowledge because.
We don't want to encourage MGTOW because a farmer, if it was a MGTOW, he's still going to get the farm done, but
Right.
he's threatening everything they've got set up
He's not
in traditionalism.
reproducing.
Yeah.
He's not. He
He's not passing
basically,
it down. Yeah.
and the
Go ahead.
thing is, like,
I mean, if we're looking for that domino, that's our domino.
I mean,
Getting to
yeah,
the farmers.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, and also, if he reproduces, he can create more labor,
Hmm.
more energy, more things can be done through the sons.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. That knowledge is being lost because it's not being encouraged. For 50, 60 years, we've been discouraging men and boys to be farmers because
Right.
everybody wants a suit and tie. Everybody, the three-piece suit, the briefcase, the tie. That's the most attractive thing.
Also, part of the reason why you don't want to be a farmer is because of inflation, and uh, and
Yeah,
you have
that
to
kills
basically,
farmers.
and also loans.
Yeah.
Loans kill farmers.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this
they
has
do.
been a problem since the 1800s,
Right.
Now we can look at
and that's why. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to run your own farm independently, have like a little have your own little plantation.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's not feasible.
Yeah. It's more. It was because your competition is not local anymore. It's global.
well,
I
that's
mean,
why
if
they
it's just
crushed the
like,
co-ops.
yeah, and the thing is like, and that's why there's so much what is it, incentives? That's why like basically they pay you to make less,
Yeah,
and subsidies and stuff like that.
the
Mhm.
I mean,
subsidies.
it would
Yeah.
be nice just to have a farm where you're just like feeding yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the thing is, like, government, for some reason, it doesn't allow you to hunt wild animals. Doesn't allow you to live almost completely independently, because it wants because it wants your taxes.
Well, that's true. That's partially true. But the thing is, if 300 million people actually learn to do that, what would be left? So the thing is, you have to
Oh,
structure these
yeah.
people.
We
So
got a
the
good
thing is,
example of that too in Cuba,
mm-hmm.
don't we? Where they use every square foot of what they can use
Yeah.
because they were getting no subsidies, they were getting no fertilizers, they were getting no outside support from anybody.
I
So they
mean,
developed
yeah. I mean, look at the. I mean, I know like there's a shoemaker, a cobbler, and the thing is like, see, there's a 60-year-old shoe. He's still cobbling it up. He's still
Mm-hmm.
fixing it
Right.
Yeah.
to this day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he has consistent customers. He's like, I've been working on this same shoe for like 30 years,
Yeah.
fixing it up.
Yeah. It's there's always going to be uh, niche corners where people can actually thrive in.
Well, yeah, men can do that. Yeah,
Men
men
can do that.
men
Yeah.
are going to figure out these other ways to do things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I did my video on shoe shining. I sat there and shined my shoes, why I shine my shoes every
Mm-hmm.
night, why I take care of them, and why I don't buy into that system by go buying a new pair of shoes,
Yeah. Some things can't be outsourced. Some things cannot be outsourced, and most of the things nowadays, modern things can be outsourced now. But some things that can't be outsourced aren't taught anymore. So that's why there's a big push to bring trades back into.
Right, with Mgtow, it's very, very, that's
Mm-hmm.
very, very Mgtow to learn how to do those simple things in
Mm-hmm.
your life. Bake your
I
own
mean,
bread, make your own noodles. We we see with Vention, the little bit of farming he does, you know, that takes from that system that we call the gynocentric.
Mm-hmm.
And all it takes is a quarter acre, you know.
Yeah, and then those skills eventually going to be very, very necessary.
Oh yeah, very necessary
Very
to
necessary.
you know, learn how to. My son does horticulture, and he was teaching me recently how to just take a clipping from plants and then starting that new plants from that, and
Mm-hmm.
learning how to do that whole thing. And,
Yeah, I gotta learn how to. I gotta learn herbalism and how to plant stuff.
Right.
Because the thing is, like, I used to take care of a rose bush, but the thing is, like, I took so good care of it, now it just thrives on its own.
yeah, yeah, that's you get your benefit, your future benefits out of your work now is going to be your that first year or two, whatever you put into that first year or two, you're going to benefit for the rest of your life from.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, but the thing is, like, but vegetables, I think you can just write basically, okay, what seasons they are
yeah,
for each fruit and everything. You can easily put it in one book, in one notebook,
right.
and basically
Yeah,
you can sell that information.
yeah. How do you save your seeds? You know, for the next year from the last of the plants and
Yeah, I mean, I think we could. I actually, you know, I think I'm gonna get to work on that. Well, I gotta go eat and do other stuff. So see you guys.
yeah.
All
Hey,
right.
I got to end this anyways. We're running on 4 hours. I never expected that. And it was great to have you two in. We covered a vast amount of things today, and
Yep.
it's just
We
good.
didn't avoid racism. We talked about it.
Yes, we talked about it.
Yeah.
We showed that, you know, Mgtow is a community that man, we don't need to, you know.
Well, I think we
let's
just
get
don't
along.
give. I don't think we don't give a smack about racism.
I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
we
not.
can.
It's not
Yeah, I
productive.
think. Yeah, I think we
Not
just
productive.
give us. Yeah, I think we just like I think we just pay attention more to what is masculinity as a whole.
Yeah. So what do you think I should do with these guys that come over and push racism?
Well,
Just kind of ban them or just kind of ignore them?
well, you know, what I try to do is you know, what I try to do, and even in my other group, what I try to do is stop looking at the sheep level. In other words, racism basically exists on the sheep level, but when you go above it to where the shepherds are, they look at it completely different.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
mean, this is,
a lot of policies like
R versus K.
yeah, and a lot of policy, a lot of things, a lot of racism is a policy more than an organic happening. You know, this you can track the policies going all the way back to, you know, to Reconstructionism, and certain things. Yeah, certain things were done. No, well, I mean, slavery was part of it, but I'm saying as far as racism was basically enforced and reintroduced because you needed to keep, you know, if you let the slaves go, and the slaves were basically the engine that ran the South. If you let them go, then the manufacturing North has no resources to actually use to go into the factories. So the thing is, you had to prop the South back up, and the only way to prop the South back up is to put the black people, the black people back on the plantation that you just freed. So you had to have a mechanism to
They have to
actually do that.
volunteer for it.
Well, they're not going to volunteer for it because you have the whole country that you can actually go explore. But how do you keep them down there doing the jobs that they were doing at basically the same rates of pay?
Okay, so basically, racism basically saved the country from collapse.
Yeah, from collapse. Yeah, it did. From financial collapse. Yeah.
Okay, people, you heard it. You heard it from Black Man. Racism was a necessary evil for America.
I understand why they did what they did. The thing is, in 1965, so we don't need this anymore. How do we? And that's what he was saying. Moynihan was saying, how do we undo what we have already done?
Yeah.
You built this system to where there's a hatred between black people and white people. You built this system. Our managers have built this system. So how do we undo this system now?
Yeah,
now that we want them to be a homogenous collective, and we built barriers, how do we tear this wall down?
That was the question that I was kind of trying to pose, but I couldn't think of it. It's become a default system, hasn't it?
Right, it has.
That we have this racism.
Yeah,
I'm done with it. I'm so done with it. I just want to move forward in Mgtow.
The thing is, how do you've enforced this culturally for 150 years? How do you deconstruct this over a couple of generations? It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So the thing is, so they decided we can't do it. We can't socially make these people come together and do this.
Well,
We gotta
they
have to do
didn't.
it by force. Well, they did by force. When you bus
Well, did
kids
they
to a white school,
try? Did they run
yeah,
a
oh
bunch of?
yeah, oh
Okay.
yeah, oh yeah. When you bus, just like what they did to the American Indians, they did it by they socialized you guys, integrated you guys by force. We're going to send you to a boarding school. We're
Yeah.
going to have you taught by white
Okay.
teachers.
Yeah.
We're going to make you a white. We're going to make you an honorary white American, so you don't have an Indian identity anymore. You're going to have a American identity.
Honorary white. I don't.
I'm
So
not saying
this is
honorary.
I
I'm giving.
would
It's
okay.
just
I
dispute
get
that.
it. I get it.
An
you get it, right?
Asian's more of an
Yeah.
honorary
Keep my
white.
Mgtow identity.
Yeah. And well, Mgtow is organic. That's why they can't do anything with it. It's organic, and
Yeah.
it crosses culture because it goes to the base of what men are. It goes to masculinity and a male identity, not a cultural identity.
It goes to that K mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
So,
that's
okay,
something
my question
can.
on how I deal with it personally in my life, and it's pretty much.
Well, the thing is, you tell them that racism is not organic. Racism is a system that has been socialized into us.
Ooh, I mean, tribalism is organic though, and that's
Well,
the problem.
tribalism is,
Tribal, yeah.
but the
Yeah,
thing is,
tribalism and group mentality is organic though.
it is organic. But the thing is, if you go to Africa or you go to Eastern Europe, where they're all white, okay, they don't say I'm white, I'm Ukrainian, or I'm Serbian, I'm English, I'm German, I'm
That's
something
tribal.
else. When you come to America, how do you get all these groups that say I come from this tribe, I come from that tribe, I come from that tribe, to adopt an identity, right? To be American, to be homogenized into a workable identity. How do you get all these groups together? You socialize them and you give them an identity. No matter where you come from in Europe, I'm white and I'm American. So I'm going to take your German identity or your Italian identity or your English identity or your Eastern European identity. I'm going to give you a white identity.
Basically, you're going to give me an American identity.
I'm gonna give you an American identity,
Yeah.
and with if you look at black slaves coming over from Africa, they came from hundreds of different cultures and different tribes, and you have to break that, and you have to give them another identity,
That's what we do here. We give a Mgtow identity.
we give them what we're doing is give them an American Mgtow identity.
Yeah, that's a very good answer to the question. Thank you. So I think with that, it's 8:01, and I'm pretty much ready to wrap the live broadcast up. And I want to thank all the guests that showed up here. We had a very, very wide spectrum. It was multicultural. Guys volunteered. There was no, it's just the way Mgtow should work. We think of ourselves as Mgtow, and we're good. We're good to go. And with that, I'm going to stop the broadcast.